Hi, world. I have something that I need to admit to the world, to you, Joe, and Jill. There was a time in my life where I enjoyed karaoke.
You?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's unexpected.
That's one of the least believable things I've ever heard you say.
I don't believe it.
I was a different man back then. One could say a different boy back then. So when I was in like the 5th or 6th grade, my next door neighbor got a karaoke machine for her birthday or Christmas or whatever.
Neat.
And do you know what album she played nonstop on that we sang to?
Was it Spice World?
Close. Now one.
Oh, now that's what I call music?
That's what I call music.
Volume
I wonder
1.
what
number they're at right now.
God.
I don't even know.
773?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I looked it up a couple years ago and I'm like, well, that's how you make yourself feel old.
CDs are in again, though.
Are they?
Are they?
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
I feel like they're like vintage collector's items at this point, which is a bonkers thing to think about.
I've seen people like post about collecting CDs. Records more so are coming back.
I've definitely seen some CDs in antique shops. I'm like, you shut up. So before I wanted to play a little game because you're both way more musically inclined than I am. I have my favorites and that's about it. So I'm going to read you the lyrics of songs off of, now that's what I call music 1.
Oh, God damn it.
And I would like you to name the band and the song if possible.
I got all nervous. I'm like, do I have to sing?
Yeah. No. So I'm brought you all here. We're gonna do some Now One karaoke and get sued. All right. So we're gonna start with what I think is an easy one. Girl, you are close to me. You're my mother. Close to me. You're my father. Close to me. You're my sister. Close to me. You're my brother. And you are the only one, my everything. And for you, this song I sing.
Is it Casey and JJ All My Life?
It is. That is exactly what it is.
All my life, I pray for someone like you. I did it, and I'm not going to do it again. You can edit
I
that
had
out.
the tune in my head, but it's been so long since I've heard that song that I could not place it.
It's kind of weird to hear it just like spoken.
I almost said Boys to Men, which is not right.
It took a minute to get it because it wasn't the chorus.
Right.
And...
Well, that's like that one I gave you a little bit of the chorus. The other ones I do not. So good luck, suckers.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Right, number 2. This is my favorite one off the album. Just saying. Make me walk. Make me talk. Do whatever you please. I can act like a star. I can beg on my knees. Come jump in, bimbo friend. Let's do it again. Hit the town full around. Let's go party.
That's what.
Is it Barbie Girl?
It is Barbie Girl. Yeah.
Fucking Aqua. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
All right, 2 for 2.
It was that last line. I did not know the word bimbo was in that song.
I didn't either.
They actually got sued by Mattel for
I
Really?
believe that. I
That's-
fully believe
Because
Mattel
they
got
used-
litigious on that one.
They used the word Barbie,
Yep.
so that.
I don't know.
Trademarked.
Yep.
They could have just spelled it differently. All right, next one. Fuck me. I whipped up jitterbuggin', brown-eyed man, a stray cat frontin' up an 8-piece band. Cut me, Sammy, and you'll understand. In my veins, hot music ran.
Oh, I'm stumped. I don't know that one.
It was a little tougher.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Because the only part of the song I know is the 3 words of the chorus.
It sounds less poppy.
Mm-hmm. It is. You give up?
Yeah, I
If
passed.
it's 3 words, I'm going to guess Black Hole Sun.
No, I don't think that one's on there. It should
I don't
be,
think
though.
that would be on
No.
now, though, because it's not really pop.
It is Zoot Suit Riot by Cherry
Cherry
Poppin'
Poppin'
Daddies.
Daddies? Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Lord. Oh.
All right, it's okay. It's okay. So we have 2 more.
That's a classic I forgot about.
I forgot this song even had words. Plant a seed, plant a flower, plant a rose. You can plant any of those. Keep planting to find out which one grows. It's a secret no one knows. It's a secret no one knows. Oh, no one knows.
I know.
Do you know it?
Hanson.
Yep. Yep.
Bop.
Yep.
And they're playing on my birthday.
Oh,
this year.
right. That is fucking
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
But saying the chorus.
Right. No, of course. It'd be way too easy. So here,
as soon as you said it, like the actual like tune, like the actual cadence of the verses popped into my head. I was like, oh, I can't believe I missed it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not reading it. I'm kind of reading it like.
Well, yeah, you're reading it.
Poetry.
You're reading it without the actual melody to it, which you have to for this. Otherwise, it'd be too easy.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'm not doing that because I'm not that little boy anymore.
No, you're not.
That little boy long ago that enjoyed karaoke.
That one beautiful summer where he got to spread his wings and sing Mbop. All right, last one. Yes, I know all about the other guy, the handsome man with athletics ties. I know about all the time before with that obsessive little rich boy. They might make you think you're happy. Yeah, maybe for a minute or two. They may make you laugh. I can keep going.
I have no idea what this is.
No, they can't make you feel the way I do. I will buy you a garden where your flowers can bloom. I will buy you a new car.
Oh, son of a bitch. It's Everclear.
Yes. Well, wasn't that fun?
I had a blast.
It was a good time.
I also enjoyed myself more than I should have.
I think Hanson was my first CD.
It was.
Oh God.
It was orange. I remember that.
I remember that. I do remember that. God. I can't remember what my first CD was.
Mine. God, this is embarrassing. Mine was, besides like burned CDs.
Oh, sure.
The first one I like paid money for was the score to Phantom Menace.
Nice.
That's
great.
You gotta get that
Don't
Duel
be
of the
embarrassed.
Fates.
Right. Oh yeah. And I like talked about it in music class, and the music teacher was so thrilled that one of their students had talked about John Williams. What a nerd. Hey, welcome to DeRazzled, the podcast that takes award-winning worst films and fixes them. I'm host Jack Culbertson, and here to suffer alongside me, as always, is also host Joe Nealis.
The spiciest.
Today, we are joined by bookmark mogul Jill. Hello. Jill. All the movies on DeRazzled won Worst Picture at the Razzies the year they were released, except when they don't. The Razzies, for those of you who don't know, are something of a reverse Oscars. They recognize the worst films of the year. Knowing what I know about Jill, I have chosen to remix 1998's Spice World, a movie that was nominated for 7 Razzies, but only took home 1. That's right. We're doing a DeRazzled snubbed episode. Jill, can you tell me what you want? What you really, really want? I'm
Zigga zigga.
Can you define that?
Yeah, I still, to this day, I don't know what it is. I never Googled it.
I'm not certain anyone knows what it means.
You've already watched the film. You watched the film before you...
Oh, yes, as a child, and then...
Yeah. So it feels weird kind of asking, like, what exposure did you have to Spice World before we made you watch it? Because a lot.
Yeah, when I was a kid, like, I thought all the double-decker buses, like, I thought every tour bus looked like that. I didn't know the cameos when I was younger, like the significance of Elton John making an appearance.
Elton John probably would have been the only one I would recognize.
It was more just like watching the Spice Girls and being like, oh, I like them. They're cool, and all my friends like them, so this movie is awesome. I think it was PG-13.
Was it?
Because of the costumes those men wore during
because of the asses.
Oh, the asses.
Oh, the asses brought the 13, huh?
So I remember my mother, like...
Not a fan.
She let me watch it, but it was... Like, I was not 13 yet.
For me, aside from the karaoke incident, the same friend who had the karaoke machine was also a huge Spice Girls and World fan. And our corner store, where we get, like, penny candy, had little, almost like chiclet-sized pieces of chewing gum, and the paper wrapped around them were the 5 Spice Girls. And I remember getting, like, handfuls of these because, again, penny candy, and it being weird because, like, they had just broken up, so we had all these ginger chewing gums. We're like, well, she's gone. Aged poorly.
I wonder if we went to the same candy store.
It's very possible.
It was like 4th Avenue in Altoona.
Now they know where I'm from.
You've mentioned it before.
I'm from that shit. So for those of you who don't know, Jill's from the old country.
Yeah, we go way back.
We both escaped. Joe, how about you? What was your exposure to?
I think we talked a little bit about this during the watch along, but my sister and former stepsisters would watch this all the time. Like they would want to watch it repeatedly, and I sat there and watched it with them because I always made them watch stuff as well. So like we watched countless times, like Ghostbusters and Coneheads and Beetlejuice. because I wanted to.
Right, classics.
Yeah, and to balance that out, whenever they wanted to watch Spice World or Titanic or various other things, like, we would watch those things. And so I actually had a bit of nostalgia for this movie because I'd seen it so many times, but very little of it actually stuck with me, with the exception of the bit about the Pope. That for whatever reason, that bit stuck with me through time.
You didn't remember the aliens.
I didn't remember the aliens.
And I remembered the aliens.
Yeah.
I had never seen it, but I will say that of all the movies we've covered, this is the one that people were the most pissed that we were going to fix. They're like, how dare you talk shit on the Spice? Yeah, it was like somebody who commented on it. It was like, how dare you? Not like actually upset. And then when we had our interview on the Anything show, Andrew was like, you don't need to fix that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. I forgot about that.
You don't need to fix these girls.
No.
Andrew,
if you're listening, we're sorry.
If anything, I don't want to fix we'll get to it, of course, but I don't want to fix the Spice Girls so much as bring the aroma forward. Anyway.
What?
So, just quick rundown of what we're going to do today. So we're going to summarize the Spice World movie for you, for those of you who don't know, for those of you who've forgotten the aliens, and it will make everything perfectly clear. Then we're going to talk a little bit about who the Spice Girls were, the impact they had on our culture, and we're going to talk a little bit about feminism. After that, we'll do our usual critique, and then we'll make Spice World even better. So, fantastic. Before we do any of that, though, they should probably subscribe and things.
That's a good point. Yeah. So if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, follow us on various platforms. Please rate and review the show wherever you can on Apple, Spotify, Good Pods, or wherever else you listen to help get us further up in search results and help people find us.
Much appreciated. Before I go into the summary, I pulled a quote from a Rolling Stones article written by Chris Heath that I think really shows you who the Spice Girls are behind the scenes. So here's a glimpse of the Spice Girls. Quote, "You know what's the greatest pleasure?" asks Geri. "When you're dying to go pee. When you're dying to go for a pee, when you got there and you have that pee." Mel C interrupts. "What's even better," Mel B finishes, "is when you have to poo." Mel C says, "No, when it's freezing cold and your pee's dead warm." Victoria, who is almost exactly like her character, "I don't talk about things like that." Then they start throwing bread rolls around the room, and Mel B has the idea, who can do this, as she grabs the tablecloth where the rolls are placed.
"Who can do this?"
Victoria saying, "I don't think you should do that." Geri grabs the other side of the cloth, and Emma says, "Yeah, go on." They then try to do the old magic tablecloth swipe, and it doesn't work.
"The flowers are still standing."
That's the Spice Girls I wish had been in the film.
That would have been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is so much more chaotic.
Oh my God, yeah.
I think they kind of put some of that into the characters in the movie, but not nearly to that extent. Like, it's not that kind of destructive chaos or mischief. Like,
they're a bunch of imps just running around causing British chaos.
Yeah.
And we'll touch on that article again to tell you some more chaos. But first, let's talk about what the movie is. The opening credits to this nearly impossible to find novelty flick are meant to invoke the psychedelic 70s. To our less than 1% of Gen Z listeners, the nostalgia for the colors, wardrobe, and quote-unquote free attitude of the hippie movement was especially high in the late 80s, which explains why I look like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo in all of my high school pictures. After the credits, we fade into a concert, the Spice Girls performing for their adoring fans. During this, we get glimpses of the supporting cast. First, the girls' management team, headed by Clifford, played by Richard E. Grant from With Nail and I, and Marvel's Loki. That's right, I have a Funko Pop of this man.
That's right, he's classic Loki in the
yeah, he's
Loki
classic
show.
Loki. Yeah. And he's really good at it. I'm like, he has very few lines, but it crushes it. Next is the documentary crew headed by Alan Cumming from Son of the Mask, who also plays Loki, a Funko Pop I do not have.
Had to bring up Son of the Mask.
Of his whole like movie oeuvre.
Jamie Kennedy starts crying somewhere and doesn't know why. It's your damn fault.
He had all that momentum from the mentions in Scream, and then I had to bring that up. I'm sorry, Jamie. So post-show, Clifford escorts the girls from the building. They run into Elton John, just, Elton Johning around backstage.
Elton Johning around? I love that verb.
I like Elton John as a verb.
Right. The doc crew assigned to the film to film the spice phenomenon, our B-plot, missed their chance for an interview and are generally treated as only slightly better than paparazzi throughout the film. Outside, the girls are greeted by a swarm of fans. Posh signs some shit. Ginger kisses little boys. Clifford prevents some perverts from taking upskirts. That's not an exaggeration. That's
actually
definitely
happens.
a thing that happens.
It's a real thing that he has to do.
Before even smartphones back then.
Yeah. Oh, the grainy pixelized version of panties. Then they enter the spice bus. Actually, a TARDIS that's 6 times larger on the inside.
I want one. I just want to drive all around and live in it.
I'll take a real one or a TARDIS version. TARDIS upgrade. Meatloaf plays the bus driver, Dennis.
Rest in peace.
Rest
we didn't mean for this episode to be timely, but god damn it.
We watched days before.
Yeah, days before Meatloaf passed away.
Yeah. Anti-vax nonsense is
that what happened?
Oh, yeah, that's a big part of what happened there. That sucks, but still, it contributed to some amazing things to our culture, and rest in peace.
Yeah, I've said, in honor of him, we will not dedicate this episode. Because we should be talking about better movies like Fight Club or Rocky Horror.
Rocky Horror, yeah.
But it could be worse. We could be talking about Blood Rain.
We could be talking about Blood Rain. Man, so you've now invoked Jamie Kennedy and Uber Bowl. I'm not having a good time here, Jack.
I think that's the last of the really terrible film references.
Okay.
I actually watched that movie.
I don't believe you.
You're wise to do so. I watched Fight Club, and he's in Fight Club, and I'm like, he's actually a really good actor. So
he's
I saw
excellent in Fight Club.
Like Blood Rain. I saw Meatloaf in the credits. I'm like, okay, I'll give it a shot. What an idiot! What a stupid child.
I loved him in Tenacious D and The Pick of Destiny. That was great.
There you go. Yeah.
He played the dad, Jack Black's dad.
That makes sense. I've not seen Tenacious D, but that would make sense.
Highly recommend. It's
fun.
Great.
Inside the bus, we sample each member's personality. Sporty is sporty. Posh is snotty and fashionable. Scary is outspoken and goes rah.
Yeah, it's about right.
I went with that vibe today with the
hell yeah.
I got some nice leopard print. Ginger has tits, and Baby Spice is your creepy uncle's favorite.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, she just smiles and gets out. She can do anything. She just gets out of trouble by
just
smiling.
Smiles. Has oh my god, what are those called?
Pigtails.
Yeah. The girls are going to broadcast a concert worldwide at the end of the week. There's your plot. See you here in an hour for the resolution. So note, Ginger's personality will be covered later in a section called Ginger Spice. Past your expiration date. Yes, spices can expire. Throw that fucking basil away. It's old enough to drive a car.
Oh no.
C-plot. C-plot arrives in the form of Hollywood, a producer, ? And a writer. I'm just going to call them as a unit Hollywood from here on. They like to cash in on the Spice Girls fame by producing a movie. Hollywood asks Hollywood 2 if they can act. Hollywood 1 throws shade on Marilyn Monroe, saying that no one cares if she could act, which is like, fuck you.
Yeah,
she could.
She could.
See Asphalt Jungle, Some Like It Hot, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, or you can just jump straight to fucking yourself. We cut to the 4th best James Bond, who is the boss of the boss's boss.
It blows my mind that I did not remember Roger fucking Moore was in this. Wait, did you say 4th best? Did you put Roger Moore behind George Lazenby?
I shall never tell. He has a collection of sometimes real, sometimes fake animals that he strokes while speaking in half metaphor, half spy code. This is not D-plot. This is just an exhausting running gag.
It's like all these riddles, and they don't make sense.
No,
they're like trying to be riddles, but it's like a fever dream acid trip of a riddle.
And he had a different animal every time. Like one,
I was a big fan of the pig.
The pig was good. Well, the pig we could confirm was real.
Yeah, it actually was moving, breathing.
The cat was like real sometimes.
The bunny was fake as hell.
Yes.
The girls rehearse. The dock crew isn't allowed to do their job. A random pregnant woman arrives to interrupt rehearsal. Where the fuck is security?
And then she just randomly,
Just randomly
nonchalantly says, "Oh, the dad left me," and I almost missed that part because it was
it's
so
it's
fast.
such a throwaway line.
It's a blink and you miss it kind of moment. Yeah, she just throws that in there. You have no idea who this is, but apparently she's like an old friend of theirs.
Yes, Unspiced Friend induces a very funny and well-written dream sequence where the Spice Girls see their futures as mothers, reinforce gender norms, and features Posh advising children to attend college for better pay, feeding into the narrative that has fucked an entire generation.
Mm-hmm.
See also us.
Yep.
Hi,
We're all in
everybody.
that boat. Hello.
We cut to H-plot, J-plot, ampersand. Who knows? How can this movie have so many plot lines and no story? Like, so little story. The Daily Event is a gossip rag run by editor Kevin McMaxford, an Uncle Dursley-looking motherfucker who can control the rain. He tells Brad, an actor who's been in countless movies, but I specifically remember him from a deleted scene in From Hell where he jerks off in a horse stable.
Of course, that's where you remember him from.
Yeah, that would be pretty memorable.
Yeah, it really stuck with me. He's in like a bunch of Guy Ritchie films, but nope, you're the guy who jerked off in a horse stable.
Nope. You don't live that down. I'm sorry.
No, even as a deleted scene.
No.
This is why Chris Nolan doesn't put deleted scenes on DVDs, so the actors don't have to deal with the shit.
Well, if Chris Nolan would stop filming people jerking off in horse stables, he wouldn't have this problem.
You hear that, Chris? So they want to get the Spice Girls to break up. Patient, McMaxford, elemental wizard, summoner of thunder and lightning. Patience.
That was comedy. That was comedic gold right there.
But it never happens again. It only happens in that one maniacal moment.
And Brad is completely like, this is an everyday type thing. Like, he's not phased.
Yeah, he just stands there in the rain like an absolute champ. Like he's done this countless times.
Just like waiting for his next order to bring him coffee. Like just waiting there.
Clifford, reject Riddler trapped in the Matrix, takes a meeting with Hollywood. They pitch Cool Runnings and Crocodile Dundee. Spice Girls. Baby Spice fears being seen as a baby even into her 30s, to which Posh calls bullshit. Baby loves being the innocent one. Cue Hercule Poirot Spice Girls crossover with Hugh Laurie as detective and the Baby Spice as the vicious murderer.
Obvious vicious murderer,
Yes.
armed to the teeth.
She pins her crimes on the priest, bringing accountability to the Catholic Church the Spice way. Posh bitches about only being known for being posh. Scary growls at some goldfish. Ginger shares a factoid about manta rays that is neither asked for nor appreciated, but has the same energy as that time last week when, apropos of nothing, I turned to BeLinda and told her that alien cattle mutilation is actually just coyotes going for the soft meat of the cow's anus, and the reason it's so circular is because coyotes are really good at eating ass.
I learned something new today.
Me too, but I didn't want to.
You're giving us all this information.
We were like driving. We were driving home from work, and I was like half napping, and I just like look up. I'm like, "Hey, do you know that?" I'm amazed she didn't wreck the car.
I'd probably have to pull over.
Yeah, for real.
Like, wait a minute.
At the photo shoot, the girls brainstorm alternate Spice Girls, such as Bricklayer Spice, who takes massive shits, and Train Spotting Spice, who emerges through the toilet of the aforementioned shit.
He crawls upside down on the ceiling.
The Daily Event hires Rocky Horror's Riff Raff to dig up dirt on the Spice Girls. No, I didn't look up what the character's name is. I just call him Riff Raff through this entire show.
Wasn't it Damien?
Damien, yes. I knew it started with a D.
Yeah.
It's Damien.
Riff Raff.
And they
Riff Raff.
rarely call him Damien throughout the entire movie.
I think they only refer to him in that meta bit at the end.
when they're reciting the
you're right.
plot as it's happening simultaneously.
Riff Raff, a member of the paparazzi, proves his merit by showing McMaxford's photos of McMaxford's morning routine, which is sniffing socks and eating, as he pronounces it, bogies. Which is boogies, but bogies.
Snot.
Snot. At the dining event, the girl's friend Nicola asks them to be the child's godmother. All of them. We see that she feels locked out of her friends' lives, which is made all the worse when they're rushed away for an interview. Alan Cummings pushes heteronormative gender relations on the girls. Ginger ponders the Catholicism of the Pope. Riff Raff spies from the buffet table, doing his best impression of Carmen Miranda. That's my one joke for me. Thank you.
That's such a good disguise. An amazing disguise.
Yeah.
Like, he's the master of disguise.
It's
in this movie.
a morph suit plus fruit tray.
Yeah.
on his head. Yeah.
It's just like a platter on like glued to the top of his morph suit and his face cut out.
I like the
Just,
The
actor's
fruit
name is
doesn't
what?
look that good though.
No.
Like, he looks a lot better than the
Well,
fruit.
that's so that nobody tries to eat the fruit.
That's true.
Yeah, he thought it out.
But at a high, an event high profile, like
Somebody
have
would
a
probably,
better
yeah.
caterer, you know.
I'll get, was it Richard O'Brien? Is that his name?
Yeah, Richard O'Brien.
I'll get him on the phone and tell him
Yeah.
to suck it.
What's up, Riff Raff?
For that movie you made in the
In
late 90s.
1998.
The Pope is sad that Ginger thinks he's not Catholic. Faced with the possible backlash of religious leaders and their followers, the girls suffer nothing. This plot thread is immediately forgotten. So throughout Act 2, we have this bizarre formula where we raise the stakes, we do some jokes, we solve the problem, and move on. The old raise 'em, drop 'em. I hate it. I hate this format.
we pick things up and we put them down.
Yeah, it's like, oh, there's some tension building, and nope, it's fixed. In Milan, the girls attempt a video before a bunch of beefy Italian boys arrive in white boxer briefs and captain hats.
Yes, they do.
Clifford and an Italian stereotype manager argue as Baby Spice traps a big boy in a conversation about her stuffy collection. Clifford,
There were a lot of Italian stereotypes in
Well,
it.
she does that specifically to point out that she has no room for him in her bed. Which is kind of funny.
yeah, no,
It's pretty
I
good.
genuinely like that scene.
That's a good tactic to
yeah.
reject somebody.
Where am I going to put all these
Sorry.
stuffed animals? I'm sorry, you got no space.
You're
I
too,
like that
you're
one.
too beefy boy. Clifford and the stereotype compromise, dressing the beefies in a Prince-inspired assless rubber suit. So aliens.
So aliens.
For our less than 1% of Gen Z listeners,
God.
aliens probed the cultural zeitgeist super hard in the 90s.
had to say probed.
It was.
It was right there. I know.
After everything from earlier, he had to do that.
I was gonna say pegged, but that's too early.
So I actually
You're
looked it up.
saving that for later.
I looked it up. This movie's actually PG. They're not
Oh,
going
really?
I thought
it-
Can't peg.
Let me try
I
this
thought
again.
it was 13.
Yeah, I thought so too, but no, PG.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I was,
Aliens had a consenting relationship with the cultural zeitgeist in the 90s. See X-Files, Mars Attacks, Independence Day, etc. The Spice Girls head into the woods to take a squat. The scene in the film that most closely resembles their actual personalities.
Yeah.
They become accidental ambassadors of Earth with aliens in costumes so bad your neighborhood haunted house wouldn't have them. They're like genuinely scary costumes. Like if you look at them,
they were kind of well done.
they not even well done. Just I think scary because they weren't well done. They have this
Yeah.
like ice cream cone top hair.
There's like upturned capes.
Yeah,
And also they miraculously spoke in the same tongue as the aliens. They just knew their language.
Yeah, there's no reason for them to understand that, right?
They just did, and it was just never explained. Just like a guy makes it rain indoors.
There's some Star Trek nonsense happening. There's like a translation field coming from the ship.
out of respect for the recently departed, I'll skip over the terrible joke forced on Meatloaf.
Yeah.
Mr. Step, a mixture of R. Lee Ermey and Eddie Izzard.
That's the combo.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I couldn't think of that the other day.
I sat at work just thinking, like, all the British funny people I know. That's what I landed on. Okay, so he puts the girls through literal choreograph boot camp, except Posh, because she can't do any of that shit. The girls chant a military call and response about the importance of having 5 members and how they'd be incomplete with even 4 members, a scene that immediately becomes prophetic. The girls sleep in a Scooby-Doo manner, unaware that Riff Raff is train-spotting Spice through Bricklayer Spice's commode. Sensing the impending elbow sex, the girls... Is that too deep a dive?
No,
deep cut?
that was good.
The girls awaken, climb into each other's bed, and interpret each other's dreams. The following morning, the girls discuss playing matchmaker, while Ginger is kink-shamed for pondering the presence of water sports in the animal kingdom. Hollywood pitches a movie that's a mixture of Avengers, no, not that one, Air Force One, and the in-universe plot from Pulp Fiction that Mia Wallace was in. Fox First 5.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost like a
catch
one-to-one.
up, that joke.
Just
I remember
catch up.
that.
The Spice Girls sing maybe the only song in the movie that I couldn't stand. It's like even poppy for them while they're on a boat. It's a scene that ends with reckless child endangerment and Riff Raff in a wetsuit with an apparently hydrophobic camera.
it had some kind of housing around it.
Did it?
I
I
think
must
so.
have missed
Oh, yeah. He had a whole setup.
Yeah,
All right, Riff Raff, you get this one.
It's like in the corner of the shot, so it's hard to really see, but it looked like it had some kind of housing around it. Like he was prepped.
I should not have questioned your expertise, Riff Raff.
And then this random minor girl is just on the boat with them. They just
They're
kidnap her.
They're just like, hey, these two girls won a contest and they're going to be in this one scene. You want to throw them overboard?
Yep. Sure do.
Here in the good old US of A, that's a $10,000 fine with an up to 5-year sentence in prison.
In Britain, it's apparently fine if you're in the tabloids every day.
In the UK, the place where child endangerment was invented, that's just a proper tea time.
Not to mention the medical bills. And
Yeah, they got it covered.
they have universal health care.
Clifford reminds the girls that many jobs rely on their being professional. While he's a dick about it, he's absolutely right.
Yeah.
The girls are the face, but a bunch of jobs keep them wealthy and famous. The pissing contest ends with the girls saying that they're skipping tomorrow's big show. The fourth best James Bond threatens to decapitate Clifford while stroking a baby pig. We get a flashback of the pre-famous Spice Girls hanging out at Rendezvous. Not a gay bar, but a quaint restaurant run by a fatherly old man named Brian.
It was like a pizza, like a mom and pop pizza shop.
Yeah.
With like the red and white plaid tables.
Yeah, 100%. Like, absolutely the kind of place you would expect to have, like, Parmesan cheese shakers on the
Yeah.
table.
Pepper flakes.
Yeah.
And like the cheap ketchup bottle, it's like all red. I don't know if you noticed this, but I'm not British, but I feel like that building is a famous building. I feel like I've seen it in some other shit.
Probably. Yeah, I have no idea. But...
And I'm pretty sure it's not some like mom and pop deli type situation, but whatever. He and Nicola watched the girls perform Wannabe, a song I assumed was manufactured in a top secret lab beneath Big Ben, owned and operated by the BBC, but was apparently thought up by the girls themselves. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, in reality, they had, like the Spice Girls were involved with their own songwriting, but they had co-writers that helped them out with that, Wannabe included. Which I think gets talked about in that Rolling Stone article.
I think it does, yeah. And I think, is that the song with the bit of a rap bit? Or is that a different song?
I mean, they do that a lot.
Well, it was Jerry's idea.
Yeah.
Geri just wants you to know that. Feeling nostalgic, the girls all arrive at the now closed Rendezvous. They wonder where Brian ended up, but then quickly forget he ever existed.
I know they would have all the money and the resources to help out this pizza shop that gave them free food.
This dude like gave you free food, free 100%. Coffee, and you're just like, whatever.
We're famous now.
We could have helped you, but whatever.
Nah.
We get a fantasy sequence where the girls are on trial. Stephen Fry serving as judge.
This is my favorite.
They release a shit album. I swear to God, he wrote his own dialogue. Like his dialogue is way too sharp. They released a shit album and must be held accountable. He slaps them with 20 years of cheesy talk shows where they ponder the fame they once held. Stephen Fry, comedian, judge, soothsayer. Elvis Costello provides the social lubricant necessary for Clifford and the suddenly relevant what's-her-face from the management team to have a depressing night of mediocre sexual congress.
I mean, they tease the idea of like a will they, won't they between them for like one line, like 20 minutes earlier in the film, but it has no consequence.
Yeah. And then when they're done, it still has no consequence.
Yeah.
The Spice Girls take their extremely pregnant friend out clubbing.
Like it's very responsible.
Right. No, that's you're supposed to do that to induce labor, which she does.
She was overdue, too.
Yeah.
They're like,
you're like 45 weeks pregnant. Yeah, let's go dance it out.
A rave.
And she does. She goes in labor, that attention whore.
How dare she on their girls' night out? Like, make it all about her.
There's like a drag show going on. They're like, nope. Prego's got to suck up all the attention.
How dare she?
The girls in Prego arrive at what is almost certainly a ghost hospital. The staff consisting of a single doc nurse and 3 extras in scrubs.
Meatloaf drove the bus.
He did drive the bus there.
Drove the
yes,
bus.
That's important, which we'll get to almost now. Through the power of breasts, Ginger Spice brings a child out of a coma.
He sure did.
Clifford chain smokes, wondering where the girls are. Baby Spice slaps Posh. Nicola farts out an unreasonably dry, calm baby. And
with a full head of hair.
Full head of hair.
Here's your 3-month-old child.
Well, I guess she was in there a while, wasn't she?
Fully cooked.
Ginger credits the miracle of birth to girl power.
Sure.
The girls capture Riff Raff, concuss him, and through the power of insert vague reason here, cause a change of heart. The girls steal the bus while Meatloaf naps on the lawn. Posh drives them past Buckingham Palace, waving at the Queen, Charles, William, Harry, and definitely not Andrew. We don't talk about Andrew.
No. No.
Fighting the clock, Posh takes the bus over a rising bridge. The filmmakers using a cheap model and Matchbox car to achieve this effect. Absolutely ace. 100% how I would have done it.
No notes.
No complaints.
Absolutely no complaints.
Notes.
That was great.
The police attempt to arrest Baby Spice, but Baby Spice uses her previously aforementioned immunity to old perverts to get them off.
Just smile. Everything's cool.
What's funny is I think Ginger and Posh try it first, and they're like, no, too old.
Yeah, they didn't. It didn't work for them. She has the pigtails and the innocent smile.
Yeah.
And
The girls arrive just as Clifford decides to televise his suicide, something that disappoints Alan Cumming.
that really went dark really
Yeah,
fast.
it got super dark.
Escalated fast.
Yeah, he goes from being ready to put on this concert to like, oh, if they don't show up, I'm going to do this.
It's time to hang myself.
Yeah, like...
I perked my ears up and we just got a little bit exciting here, huh? No? Okay. It doesn't happen because the girls show up, do their big dance number, spice up your life, roll credits, but over the credits, there's a mockumentary oneer that shows a prequel of sorts, the actors preparing to film the movie. The Spice Girls break the fourth wall for entirely too long.
It really goes on too long. Like that could have been a fun bit if it was like a full 15 seconds shorter.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Off screen, the bus blows up, killing Meatloaf, which means the bus and Meatloaf were ghosts the entire time. The end.
Huh.
Yeah. It's weird. So that's Spice World.
It's a fun romp about a pop group that's been haunted.
Yeah, several times. So the Spice Girls. I'm going to try to explain why this is important.
I can't wait to hear how you put this.
I don't know how. I'm just pushing words out one at a time, hoping the idea forms behind them. So real quick, we'll talk about how the Spice Girls came about. Basically, there was an ad put out for we need young women who can sing and dance. And
was it like energetic,
yes.
Ambitious or extroverted young women who are capable of singing and dancing, I think was...
This is how they first came about.
Yeah. They all answered the same ad, more or less. Yeah.
See, when I was a kid, it's just like, they're there, and they exist, and they're cool, and friends like them, and spice up your life.
Well, they originally didn't have Baby. There was a fifth person who, depending on what you're reading, either left to pursue a different aspect of her life or was kicked the fuck out.
Yeah.
That happens a lot when you're reading about the Spice Girls. It's like one side makes them seem very nice and friendly, and the other side's like, yeah, it's business. So supposedly Posh was friends with Baby before they became Posh and Baby.
Right.
And suggested Baby. But then reporter at Rolling Stones is like, no.
Yeah, apparently when he managed to get an interview with their old manager.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, and the levels of discrepancy between like how the Spice Girls tell it and how he tells it is fascinating. Because apparently they think that it was like a singing coach that actually knew Baby or something along those lines. And that the first girl, if she wasn't kicked out, then she went on to like go to college or something.
He also explains, so the Spice Girls left him and went with a different manager.
Mm-hmm.
They paid him whatever monies they needed for the rights and such.
Yeah. They claimed that their original management wanted to like dress them all in the same outfits and do all this like cheesy, like ill-conceived, played out stuff. And then whenever he was asked about it, he said, no, the whole point of the auditions was to find like 5 really distinct
individuals.
Women. Like,
which is really obvious when you look at the 5 girls.
Yeah.
I mean, Backstreet Boys, like at the time, they're very like most of them are the same. Like they all have.
I couldn't tell them apart.
If you were into them, you could you started to figure out how to tell them apart. But like if that was not your thing, they were just copy and paste the same like cornflower white boy.
And Spice Girls are all like spicy and variety.
It was really easy to tell them apart, even if you didn't listen to them.
I didn't listen to them. I was like, oh yeah, I know for the most part, I knew them apart.
I mean, those nicknames stick.
Those nicknames stick. Yeah. So what I found really interesting is he suggests that the reason that they left is because he had planned to remove one of the 5 girls.
Right.
Because he's like, well, it's a product. We're making a product, and one of the girls isn't cutting it, so we're going to replace her with somebody else. And before that could happen, the girls got together, decided to form their own band and leave, or their own management and leave.
Yeah,
that's girl power.
And it is, and I think it's cool. I do wonder if perhaps it was Ginger who ended up leaving anyway down the road because of differences.
Mm-hmm.
Could have been,
but we'll get to that. I don't know how to explain to Gen Z how big the Spice Girls were. Well, let me see if I can do this.
Well, you know how big BTS is now? It was like that.
Behind the scenes?
No, it's a K-pop band.
Oh.
I was thinking behind the scenes too.
And that is the full extent of what I know about BTS right there.
I thought it was behind the scenes.
Nope. There's a K-pop band.
Are they called behind the scenes?
They're called BTS. I have no idea what the fuck it stands for.
It could be.
It could be behind the scenes. I don't see why it would be, but I don't know anything about K-pop.
I don't either.
We're old. So this should show it, right? So the Spice Girls became insanely popular before the internet was really the internet.
There were some AOL chat rooms.
Like Yahoo and Amazon, but very few.
No, Amazon wasn't
yet.
Amazon wasn't even a twinkle in Jeff Bezos' little eyes.
It might have been there.
It just search engines.
Festering.
It was mostly just search engines. At that point, it was
fan sites.
Yahoo chats.
It was Yahoo. There was
AIM.
AOL. There was Ask Jeeves, Alta Vista. Like that was about it.
ICQ.
So
I don't even remember that one.
Let me. This will explain it to you. So the girls were asked to go into a chat room, kind of do like a Q&A.
Oh right, yeah, and they had no fucking idea what they were doing.
I will read the direct quote.
Please do. This is good.
Do you guys like AOL? I don't know who AOL are.
Who AOL are?
This is Mel B.
Yep.
Then she is told, and she gives her answer. I love American Online. It's a chance to speak to the world. Afterwards, she will point to the computer monitor and ask over and over again, I want an internet. Can I have one of these?
Yeah.
Which
just
is
pointing at the monitor to the computers, which I imagine had to be like chonky CRT monitors, hanging out on these tables.
Even without the help of social networking and websites and the internet, they were able to become giants,
worldwide, global successes.
It was pretty amazing. It was like the British invasion of the 90s.
Yeah, in a way, it was. Like that's a good analogy for it.
Like Belinda asked me, like, were they as big as the Beatles? I'm like, they weren't that big, but they also didn't last as long.
Yeah, They were. It felt like they were just like a twinkle in the eye of
like
their
I
career.
said, I barely had time to eat the chewing gum before one of them left.
It's like before, like once I got the second CD, it was like the goodbye album. And
because Ginger was only on the first one, right? Or was she on the first two?
No, she was on the first two.
Yeah, because she was in Spice World was the technical second album, but it also doubled as the soundtrack to the movie.
Yes.
So in the Rolling Stones article, he asks them about the movie because it's not out at the time the article was released. Geri says it's basically a parody of us lot, a piss take of ourselves. It's an adventure. It's a thriller. It's a comedy.
Thriller.
Right. And the interviewer, I think Chris Heath, says, there have been, I point out, far more terrible pop star films than good ones. Why do they think this is going to work? Because, says Mel B, who has shoved a bread roll down the front of her shirt, I've got a third tit.
Yep.
Which should have been on the box, like the release VHS.
Can't believe they didn't include that bit in the film. Honestly, like it feels like a thing she would just do in the middle of that luncheon interview where Richard O'Brien pops up from under the platter. Like it feels like a thing that would happen then. And
I feel like they really wanted to keep the PG.
Yeah, probably.
I want to dress up.
I don't know. I mean, you got all that man ass in Italy.
Scary Spice with a bread roll.
No, Richard O'Brien hiding under the table. Riffraff.
Yes.
That would be a really hard. It would be difficult to engineer. I might need some help. But...
Just a lot of glue and morph suits.
Yes.
This connects to nothing, but I just want to read. Everyone picks their nose. So shrugs Geri.
The article
picks his nose.
Yeah, the article starts with one of them just digging for gold.
Right. Yeah. It's Geri. It's Ginger. Oh my God. There's also a portion where they talk about, at the end of the day when they're all done being professionals, they tie their hair up with G-strings.
If they don't have like scrunchies or whatever handy, they'll just use their underwear. And apparently Mel B would just use underwear regardless of its state of cleanliness.
Right. Right. Well, she said she smells of roses.
Yeah. No, obviously her shit doesn't stink.
And the only one who doesn't do it is Ginger, not because she has any problems with it, but because she's always running out of underwear.
Yeah.
And specifically during that interview, she's like, I'm wearing Mel B's makers because I don't have any. So mostly I wanted to go through those quotes to demonstrate that the girls were way more fun backstage than they were in the movie or even in their presentation by magazines.
Yeah, there's a legitimate, like, chaotic wildness to the way they comport themselves that is compelling and fascinating to behold. Like, imagine being that interviewer, like, learning all this and seeing them interact with things and stop in the middle of it to try and do a magic trick with a tablecloth. Like,
you're trying to do these, like, serious questions.
How do you respond?
I've got a tit.
I've got a third tit. Just
like, yep, that doesn't answer my question, but
sure.
All right.
I don't know what that had to do with anything, but all right, moving on.
You just have to react quickly in that and go with the flow.
There's also a couple of bits. There's a lot of bits actually where they talk about what sucks about being famous, which is a lot of their exes came out with kind of like tell all articles.
Oh,
yeah, there were guys
really
getting
shitty.
like tens of thousands of pounds from tabloids for stories about sleeping with them, regardless of whether or not they were true.
Correct.
But there were some that were apparently true and like hit home and hurt.
but then they're the heroes for sharing these stories. But then the women who engage in consensual activity are also shamed.
And it's like the early internet, so you also have sites where specifically Emma is pictured as the devil holding a pitchfork, a pentagram on her tank top, the words, "Beware, Emma is Satan. She has no eyeballs. She is the source of evil on our planet. She must be destroyed."
She has no eyeballs?
This was before I had the internet, I think.
It was like early internet. It probably, the nostalgia is kicking because I could see like little GIFs and the little sprinklies. And
like a little Angel Fire site or GeoCities
Netscape.
or something.
But like in response to this, Geri leans over and like looks through Emma's scalp and is like, "Nope, no
666.
No 666. Emma is not the devil child." Quote.
So the thing that struck me the most about that sequence is when Mel B is talking about the guy who sold a story about her, who she was actually like really close with and like thought she had a connection to. And how she was talking about how, like, I could like, easily have this guy's ass kicked or whatever. And it's like, but what's that really going to prove? What's that going to do? I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to move on. He got 40,000. I've got 1 million. Who cares? And then the next day, the interviewer finds out, no, that guy got his ass kicked and he had it coming. Just like, wait, you said you weren't going to do that. And she just laughs it off and goes, no comment.
Maybe somebody was just like a vigilante. Who knows?
Vigilante justice for the Spice Girls. So let's talk real quick about their breakup because prior to this movie, that's the thing I knew them for was that they broke up. So Geri, I can't remember her last name, but Ginger Spice, thank you. She left the group to have a solo career. And they tried to play it off like, hey, she's going to go do her own thing. She doesn't quite jive with the band, the other 4 girls at this point. And then as time and paparazzi happened, more has come out. She was getting more and more fights with Posh and Scary. I think more so Scary.
I could see that probably being the case.
Yeah. Because I want to say like her and Posh actually got along.
Well, because one of the things that gets talked about in that Rolling Stone article is their politics. And there was that crack that Geri made about Margaret Thatcher being the first Spice Girl. And the kind of shitstorm that caused for them a little bit. And in discussing that, the journalist points out that Geri and Victoria are both very conservative. Like they support the Conservative Party. Mel C supports the Labor Party. Mel B identifies as an anarchist. And,
right,
I didn't know that.
And Emma just like doesn't want anything to do with it. She tries to be apolitical.
Which, like, if we're trying to figure out the personalities of the Spice Girls, like that in and of itself is probably the best indicator.
Yeah.
And it's weird, like, of their personas that they put on, I feel like Ginger's is the one that's least like who Geri actually is.
Yeah.
Oh, I believe that. And then also, I feel like her solo album did not do as well over here. I don't remember it that much.
Yeah, I haven't looked up sales figures, but I think you're right.
I feel like as a child, I would have remembered because I would have had the album and it would be on sale more places.
You'd think, yeah. I don't remember it making a splash, though.
Yeah, I don't even remember a song that she sings.
I couldn't name one.
So she had agreed with the bandmates to continue the tour with them up until like this will be the last concert. However, she had set up an event, a charity event where she was going to talk about like breast cancer awareness, which she was very passionate about because she had surgery. I think when she was 17 is what it said, to remove like a small.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
And when she was like, okay, well, I got to go over here and do this thing, the organization was like, your manager said you canceled. So they had canceled it for her, and she's like, well, bye.
Yeah.
Which,
that's actually kind of shitty.
Yeah, it's really shitty.
Like
I can't. There was a weird thing that happened when I was reading the Rolling Stone article where I'm seeing their ages at 1997, and they're all in their early 20s, and my brain still remembers me being a child and seeing them as adults. So even now, today, I'm like, oh, they are older. But in truth, they were just a bunch of like young 20-year-olds making huge decisions. Like, I would not have been able to do half of that stuff.
Oh my God, no.
They did accomplish a lot just thinking about the short period of time and their success and
like,
their
no
age.
wonder they were chaotic, because they were a bunch of like...
They're kids.
They're practically, I mean, they're young adults, but they may as well be kids.
The frontal cortex of the brain doesn't develop until age 25, and that's the whole part of the brain that controls impulsivity and behavior and
stops you from pulling a tablecloth.
Yep. all those things.
Reading about all this stuff behind the scenes, I'm like, I'm not surprised. Like, I had some friendships in college when I was in my early 20s that was very volatile.
Oh, yeah.
We're all like running around being a bunch of a-holes.
Yeah. Like you do.
So we're going to take a mini break while we bring on our surprise special guest to talk about feminism according to Ginger Spice.
All right.
So to talk about Ginger Spice specifically and the fuck she has to say, we've brought in emergency guest, BeLinda. BeLinda, how are you doing?
I am doing well. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to work in a pinch.
We just, we found you wandering around the house and we're like, hey, she could do this.
Just...
You know stuff, come here.
You know some stuff, but for real, you are somewhat of an expert in the field of feminism.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I guess we should say what Geri said first.
Yeah.
To preface why this is even happening.
So Geri being, the most vocal, like, girl power presence in the Spice Girls, it's alarming to see her do things like say that Margaret Thatcher is the original Spice Girl. And then later on, when the Spice Girls were actually going to be reuniting in 2007, she was interviewed and quoted as saying that in her mind, feminism is bra-burning lesbianism. That's the exact phrase that she uses.
Yeah, Geri said some things that are a little troubling, especially for the persona that she was given as Ginger Spice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I guess one of the things, I fell down a few rabbit holes. Actually, I fell down a lot of them in regard to feminism and the waves of feminism. Because previously how I've mostly viewed feminism and studied it is through gender and development. And so I was going back through looking at it through this new lens with, of course, my heart a little broken. I mean, I'm a redhead. For those that don't know me and who can't see me when listening to this, Ginger Spice was my Spice Girl because I was a ginger and it wasn't very often I got to have people that looked like me.
You got that and a Little Mermaid, and that was it.
Yep.
Basically.
Yep. Or they were always like the evil stepmothers and the like evil witches, and that was pretty much it. Though they did stick with Ginger Spice. They did stick to the over-sexualization of redheads.
Yeah.
But
they sure did.
That's a whole different conversation.
Oh, I also really quickly want to point out that in the interview, she said she doesn't like feminism because it emasculates men.
She did specifically say that, yeah.
That pisses me off. Sorry.
No, I think it's a good point to bring up. While being a feminist and an intersectional feminist, I don't think feminism emasculates men, but I think one thing that as feminists we have failed to do is to teach men how to exist in a new world. We focused so hard on getting women into male-dominated fields, focusing on equality and really kind of putting those masculine traits on a pedestal and a thing that women should be aiming for. But in that, we still were kind of embracing that those toxic masculinity traits and didn't spend a lot of time teaching men how to exist in this new changing sort of paradigm and this different terrain is the word I was looking for. So I'm not surprised. While I was disappointed to hear she said that, I was also not surprised because that is something that we hear a lot, and not just in this argument. Think of trans exclusionary feminists.
Yep.
To include trans is to be anti-women through their framework, which we know is a whole bunch of bullpucky, but that's the...
You can say bullshit on here.
That's the...
No, bullpucky was good.
But, that's sort of I see this as a very similar issue in regard to that.
Yeah.
Do you think that... I think Geri's the oldest of the 5.
I think.
Do you think that she grew up with a different understanding of what feminism was or
Yes.
is?
Absolutely. Because if you look at the time frame, so second wave feminism was really the 60s, the 70s. Third wave didn't really start taking root until the 90s.
Okay.
So she was raised by second wave feminists and surrounded by that. And that second wave sort of, that was the feminine mystique, the second gender. But yeah, that was the wave that raised Geri. It is also the wave that was anti-prostitution, which we now use the term sex work.
Yep.
But it was anti-sex work. And again, was the push for women to go into male-dominated fields.
Yeah.
And also at this point in time, there wasn't really a focus on race and gender.
Yeah, there was no focus on intersectionality.
And that didn't even really start to come until third wave feminism. But even then, we still live in a whitewashed, colonial, patriarchal society that's riddled with systemic racism.
Yeah.
So we have, feminism, we have these different waves. And within these waves, we have all of these different theories from transnational feminism. And I could go on. But really what they lack is that sort of focus on race. And third wave feminism was coined by a 23-year-old Black bisexual woman, Rebecca Walker. And then the term intersectionality, even though it was coined in 1989 by Kimberly Crenshaw, you didn't really hear much about it through time. Mm-hmm. It didn't make its, at least for myself, and I'll admit, I am a feminist who is white. So a lot of my experiences are through that lens. But it wasn't until we kind of saw the shift in the last few years with the Me Too movement, this focus on intersectionality reemerging.
So would you say that current feminism, you would refer to it as intersectional feminism? Not like fourth wave or whatever?
So it technically is fourth wave with a focus on intersectionality.
That's the way I've always heard it referred to. Like, I think when I was still in grad school in the early 2010s, that was when I started hearing the term fourth wave. And it was always, and those discussions in those classes and those lectures always focus on race, on queerness, and on masculinity, and the different ways the various levels of oppression, not even levels, the different styles of oppression all cross over and impact each other, and how that creates wide-ranging effects for literally everybody. Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff that goes completely uninterrogated.
So hearing her say that feminism emasculates men really upset me.
Oh, it pissed me off too. Yeah.
It's just... I mean, the whole thing pissed me off, but except for the part where her PR crew's cringing in the background, that was hilarious.
Yeah, that.
There was this part where she was like, she was so focused on providing that she was like, and I just provided you with your headline.
There's your headline.
And like, on the one hand, I feel for her because I think she, as a young woman, was definitely exploited.
Right.
In different ways. And also, she pushed girl power. And she still does. I was going through her Instagram, and it's still all girl power. So her passion is there, but yet she's still anti-feminist, which is something I've really had issues kind of wrapping my head around. Because one of the things that concerned me was that she's an ambassador for the UN.
Yeah.
For maternal
maternal
mortality.
Yeah. In that Guardian article that you shared with me, that's where they specifically talk about that. Yeah.
And I remember reading that and being like, well, this just also proves how we view feminism as this whitewashed colonial thing, because it completely erases the importance of feminism in gender and development outside of our historically white-controlled walls.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Absolutely.
So when we speak about feminism, are we talking about feminism in the United States or globally? Like, I wonder if the UK had a different form of feminism.
There's a lot of, from my understanding, there's a lot of similarities and crossover.
Okay.
Because the UK has a very similar history in slavery, in colonialism, and all of these different things. And while our journeys have been a little different, I think there's a lot of things that mirror each other. And I'm saying that having not spent a lot of time studying it through, like, how she would have viewed it.
Sure.
But it's still a very white-centric view of feminism and doesn't look at it from, like, the countries and continents she is going to.
Gotcha.
She talks about it a lot in terms of how it makes her feel.
Yes. How she realized how privileged she was. And that really is the focus. And I do get that when we experience things that aren't our norm, they are a shock. And while the article, I think, is a few years old.
It was 2007. Yeah,
I'd be curious to see if she's had enough time to process it and see it from a less me standpoint.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I haven't seen.
So do you think, or at least I feel that when people speak negatively about feminism, they're mostly thinking about second wave.
I think second and third wave.
Yeah.
Second wave had a lot of roots, had like a lot of political movements. And third wave was kind of a response to second wave. Insofar as that third wave was a rebellion from second wave. But third wave was sort of what brought us the slut walk.
Yes.
We saw it in the early 90s with focusing on sexual harassment in the workplace with Anita Hill. I could probably...
We can have an entire branch off side podcast.
Yes, all about feminism. Because, like, all of this stuff is still widely debated, there are so many different viewpoints and opinions that some people still think we're in third wave feminism.
Gotcha.
So there's a lot of diversity in thought.
Well, I have one last question for you. If we were to say, move one of these curtains and reveal Geri Ginger Spice Halliwell.
Halliwell.
Yeah, that's what I said. And she was to sit across from you, what would you say to her?
That's a tough one. I think if I was sitting in front of Geri and I could tell her about feminism, I don't know. There's like, I think there are a lot of things I could say, but I'm wondering if the things even I said today would be helpful, like acknowledging the shortcomings of, like, where were the shortfalls of feminism, and also all the different schools of thought, and where are we now? What is feminism now? Maybe she didn't identify with second wave feminism, but maybe where we are now is something that might be easier for her to identify with if we ignore the fact that she's also a Tory.
Do you think the Spice Girls did anything to help or hurt feminism as a whole?
Compared to the other models that came out during my childhood, I think overwhelmingly their impact as the Spice Girls was positive.
Okay.
Insofar that it was girl power, and that was the thing that we needed at that time, whether the members of Spice Girls believed in it or not. But I know it had an impact on me. And when you think about it, and just let's go back to Ginger Spice, her entire thing was to be sexy, but removing the fact that she's anti-feminist, she still was a woman who was sexual and sexualized heavily, but still works for the UN today. So there's still some positives I see in that, even with her having some problematic beliefs. She also won me over a little bit when a few years ago, I think, what was her name? It's like Mila Jam in the UK. You know the song It's Raining Men?
Yeah.
She redid it to It's Raining Them. And
Ginger did that?
No.
Okay.
No.
I was like,
Mila
But
Jem, somebody
Mila,
else.
oh, okay.
yes, but she did it, and Geri
Mhm.
came out in support of it, who
Okay.
previously sung that song. So she won. She
All
won some like
that helps.
kudos for me
Okay.
because it wasn't. Because I think sometimes we mix up the United States conservative that
Right.
entails that is anti-trans versus maybe that's not the case other
Right.
places.
Well, J.K. Rowling
Well,
doesn't help that.
I mean,
No.
British feminism in particular has a very big anti-trans problem, but it is reassuring to see her not fall into that. So that is a good thing to see. So that shows some willingness to grow and learn.
Third last question. If you were to give Joe a spice name, what would it be?
I'm curious.
Cat Daddy Spice.
Thank you, BeLinda, for coming on.
Perfect. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
I very much appreciate your expertise. We'll look forward to having you on a full episode very soon.
Yes.
Perfect.
We're going to take an actual break for now.
Yes. So enjoy an ad.
Welcome back to DeRazzled. Last time we were here in your ear hole, we talked about feminism, and you enjoyed it. That's why you're still here. You beautiful yins peoples. Let's talk about stats.
Jags.
That's Jags.
All right, let's dive into the stats for Spice World. So, released in 1997, it was nominated in 1998,
I believe so. Jill, what do you think Spice World score is on Rotten Tomatoes? Is general score?
Is it like a scale out of 1 to 10?
It's a percentage.
Percentage.
So one
Percentage out
to
of
100.
100.
1 to 100. It's around in the 70 percentile range. Is that generous?
Well, I want to hear what Joe has to say first.
I would guess for this one, I mean, given how thin the plot is
Yeah.
and how many side plots there are, I think critics score I'm going to say is around 25.
35.
35. Okay.
Yeah, they were actually a little higher than I expected.
Yeah.
I doubled it.
You were very generous. The critics are never that nice.
I can see the audience score being that
Now, the
high,
audience score, what do we think the audience score is?
though. That I think
Yeah,
is-
probably more the audience score. I guess more so I wasn't familiar with the rating scale.
Right,
but
That's
right.
fair,
After
yeah.
seeing a couple examples of the differences between the two ratings.
So what do you think the audience rated it?
Yeah, I would say around like 72%.
Yeah, I'd say around 70.
45.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it's
the
kind
audience
of
score is
generous.
that low?
It's weird. The
Huh.
critic score is higher than I would expect, and the audience score is lower than I expect.
Way lower than I would expect,
I-
considering
I-
the nostalgia some people have for it.
Right.
Wow.
I wonder
People
if
need
it's
to get on
because
there and,
the internet, like back then, people weren't rating movies, so now everybody's an adult
You hear
and
that, everyone?
realizes the reality of the
Could
movie.
be.
That's my
Right.
that's my hypothesis.
Wild. Okay.
IMDb score. This is out of 10.
I'd say 4.
Okay.
I actually know this one.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
It is 3.6. So pretty
Ooh.
close. Yeah.
You were close.
Before we do the Razzies, let's talk about the Stinker Bad Movie Awards.
Oh, it did get nominated for some
Mhm,
stinkers.
mhm.
Yeah. So there is another bad movie award show that actually started before the Razzies called the Stinkers that mysteriously stopped after 2006. We haven't figured out why yet.
Our goal is to bring back the Stinkers.
I would love to see that happen.
They sound really interesting.
So Spice World did win Worst Picture, the Stinkers.
Yes.
And
What else was it nominated for there?
the category is Worst Actress or British Singing Group Pretending to Act.
That's oddly specific.
Sounds a little bit like the Razzies there.
Yeah, a little bit. It's a highly specific tailored
yeah.
category.
Yeah, but they won that one.
I wonder why.
All right, so in 1998, it was the 19th Golden Raspberry Awards. Again, they were nominated for 7 Golden Raspberries, including Worst Picture, but they lost to an Alan Schmitty film.
Alan Smithy.
Schmitty.
Smith.
Schmithy.
Smithy. It's Alan.
Smithers.
It's-
Burn, Hollywood, Burn. Which
I know nothing about.
I
it.
know nothing about this one either. So the only category it won was Worst Actress, which the Spice Girls in Spice World as themselves. So all 5 of them won. The rest.
They got group nominated
Yeah.
because group. So yeah.
It was nominated again for Worst Picture. It was nominated for Worst Supporting Actor for the fourth best James Bond as the Chief.
Wow.
Yeah. Which I'm like, he wasn't good, but he wasn't like Razzie bad. Whatever.
Yeah, I didn't think he was terrible.
No, he was fine.
He didn't actually serve a purpose.
No, he just like plot-wise, he was pointless. For Worst Screen Couple, they were nominated for any combination of two characters, body parts, or fashion accessories, which is another cheap nomination for whatever.
Yeah.
It got nominated for Worst Screenplay, which was written by Kim Fuller, who I want to say is their manager, is whoever's like in charge of them officially. The Spice Girls, that is.
That person's name is mentioned in that article.
It is.
But it's not Kim.
I think isn't it like Sam Fuller?
It might be Sam Fuller, so Kim might be related to
I think
Sam.
I think the director that ended up doing the film was related, or like a friend of the Fullers. He also directed Absolutely Fabulous, which
he was.
I'm surprised that it wasn't more that.
You'd think that he would be bringing some of the comedy chops from that to help beef this up a bit more, but no
dice. They were also nominated for Worst New Star, which again the Spice Girls for themselves,
sure,
and Worst Original Song, Too Much, which I don't know which one that is.
That was the one they opened with when they were rehearsing in the opening scene of the movie.
I thought, what's the Come On song where they keep like, come on, come on.
Oh yeah, that's the one that I really liked that wasn't on
really?
the album. That they had the controversial outfits with the Italian
with
men.
the butts, the butt
yep,
song.
all the butts.
Of all the songs, I mean the poppy one on the boat was kind of meh for me, but like that song I did not like.
Oh yeah, that's true. My least favorite one on the album is probably Mama because of how they showed that futuristic scene.
Oh my god, yeah.
Expectations.
So, those are the nominations. Again, it only won Worst Actress. So let's go into critique. So the way we do this is we talk about what worked first. So then the first thing we're going to talk about is the cast. What worked for the cast?
I think the cameos definitely helped, even though they took a big portion of the budget. Elton Johning around was really just like a...
I would have liked to have seen why Elton Johning around.
I love that new verb, by the way. I'm going to reuse it all the time.
We have to figure out what it is.
And his glasses, like, they were pretty tame for Elton John.
Right,
by Elton John standards, yeah, they were definitely tame.
Yeah.
I think like the cameos were fun. Like they were definitely enjoyable. I wasn't expecting Elvis Costello in particular, like as a bartender of all things, and then Meatloaf as the bus driver was great. He was fantastic.
He's the MVP of the movie.
Yeah.
Like I wonder who those cameos were for.
That's the question, though, right? Like,
who's going to recognize? I think at the top of the show, you guys were like, "Yeah, we didn't recognize the cameos for the most part."
No, like, I mean, like, I'm sure, like, my mom would have pointed out, like, "Oh, Elton, like, this is Elton John," or like, you know, like, that's an easy one to notice.
Bob Hoskins was in there.
Yeah, but no kid is going to recognize Bob Hoskins
unless it's like, oh, it's the guy from Roger Rabbit.
It's a Super Mario movie.
Oh, right.
But he's not putting on an American accent in this sequence. So he just pops up all of a sudden like, who's that bald British guy?
I'm trying to imagine the Venn diagram that both a Super Mario's movie lover and Spice World lover would be, like who that person is.
Well,
probably me.
Probably we got them in studio.
Perfect. I think a lot of the cameos are meant for a British audience specifically.
Okay.
A lot of younger American viewers and Spice Girls fans in particular aren't going to know who Hugh Laurie and Stephen Fry are in particular at that point.
That's true.
They're probably not going to have an eye for Elvis Costello either.
I still didn't know what he looked like until you pointed it out.
So I think some of them, they're either going to be for the British audience or they're going to be for the adults watching the film with their kids.
That makes sense.
Which, sure, that's fun. Like,
there's get a little something for the adults,
especially if you're bringing in like the younger kids who are the main demographic for Spice Girls fandom. Having something there for the parents is going to be important.
Oh, absolutely. So they're not sitting there bored, and it's relatable to them. I remember not knowing Elton John when I was younger, but then watching it as an adult, I'm like, oh, I know who that is.
Sure, yeah, he stands out like a sore thumb immediately.
Mm-hmm.
I've mixed feelings about Richard E. Grant's performance.
Yeah, there are times where he's solid, and there are times where he's just like, you're going too over the top for me. Like some of his reactions are just like not relatable at all. They're like utterly cartoonish to it like, in some points.
The whole movie's kind of like that, where I'm like, what tone are we trying to strike here? because at times like, okay, this is just like I watched Hard Day's Night before writing the script because I wanted to see just how much they took from Hard Day's Night. And they kind of took like the playful tone, but then Spice World goes really big sometimes, like bringing in aliens.
That was a lot of special effects.
I'm just
budget,
like,
I'm sure. At the time, they didn't have the technology.
We did talk a little bit about this where the budget was $25 million, which is not that much for a major motion picture. And I'm like, where did the money go? And we read a bunch of articles. We couldn't find it. The only thing that came up was it was an interview with Richard E. Grant like a couple of years ago, where he's like, the girls were great. They were really fun to work with. After like the first week of filming, they asked them to get rid of the other trailers because they all were just sharing one. And he was like, well, I'm not getting rid of mine because it's the biggest one I've ever had.
Oh, so that's where some of the money went was to backstage amenities and trailers and such.
I think so.
Okay, interesting.
That does make sense.
Because a lot of the sets that weren't, I think, found sets, right? So you have the actual concert halls, the rehearsal hall, I think look really nice. But say the office of Daily Event looked terrible.
Oh, yeah.
It looked like a condo.
It looked like a condo. I'm like, did you guys not have set decorators?
Yeah, like a bad condo.
Yeah. A condo that they could make it rain in.
Right.
Now, the set design on the bus, that worked.
The bus was great.
That was fun. That was very enjoyable.
They had their own, each one had their individual area for their personality and style. That was great.
Yeah, that was a good bit of set design fun. I liked that.
Before we go too far into that, are there any other cast members that worked? The girls themselves, I'm not sure of because they really.
Damien.
Oh my God! Yeah,
Damien was fantastic. Just
I forget.
Yeah, Richard O'Brien played that up so well.
Yeah, Meatloaf and Richard O'Brien.
Meatloaf, I think they could have done a little bit more with.
Especially, he seemed into it.
Yeah, he seemed into it.
He definitely, you could tell he's putting effort into that performance. I think they could have done more with him.
When did Fight Club come out? It would have been around the same time. I don't know if it was before or after that.
That's a good question.
Because
we can't talk about that.
Nice.
Because I wonder if they just didn't know his acting ability yet.
Oh, Fight Club was 99.
So it was not yet.
Yeah.
Okay. So he followed up his breakout role as Dennis in Spice World with
Bob. Fight Club.
What about their manager? What was his name?
Clifford.
Clifford, yes. When I was a child, I thought that he was a villain, but really he just wanted them to do their job.
Yeah,
I didn't even ask.
Well, like as an adult who's worked in like various forms of entertainment, I'm like, yeah, if the girls didn't show up the day of, backstage would be chaos.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, people would be losing their minds.
Yeah.
Not just a manager, like
no.
Everybody.
It's like he took the brunt of all the pressure
right.
and like nobody else was stressed out about it. They were just talking about pitching this movie simultaneously.
Also, like, why are you guys here? This is not the time.
Yeah, you are intruding on a really stressful situation here. What are you doing?
Yeah, it's like do or die, like it's one of these moments.
Writers in one ear and you have the doc crew in the other, and this guy's just like, maybe I'll end it.
One extreme to the next.
Today's the day to hang myself.
Which, with all that in mind, I'm like, okay, this makes a little bit more sense. Anyway, let's move on to the story. What worked for you for the story? Besides Stephen Fry's being a judge part, which was fantastic,
brilliant, absolutely. Mwah. I think the cutaway bits actually were some of my favorite bits. But that doesn't really help with the story at all.
Yeah, it's hard to.
I'm torn how to.
It's hard to think of it as having a cohesive plot because there's so many subplots.
Yeah.
I would say the guy with all the animals and the riddles, that worked.
The boss, the chief.
The boss, yeah.
The boss's boss.
I think that was funny, even though some of the animals were... The rabbit wasn't real.
It was funny, but I don't think it works. It's just...
It's like individually there are jokes that work, but as a whole thing... Because I also like the fantasy sequences, excluding the one with their moms. That one was weird to me.
That one...
Yeah.
I mean...
And Sporty Spice looks older than all the rest of them in that sequence.
I think her on like the exercise bike was maybe my favorite part of that entire sequence.
But there's so little actual story, like through line for the Spice Girls that I'm like, well, I can't really say what worked and didn't work because
it's hard to pinpoint.
It's not relevant.
Yeah, like everything that like really sticks out in my memory as like an enjoyable moment. It's tangential.
Right.
It's really difficult to really find something about the story itself that
You could
functions as a story
that just like sticks out from the whole movie. It's
Yeah.
hard to pick a defining moment.
If you were to cut out everything that didn't relate to the plot, this would be like 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Yeah, it'd be
and
a
that's
short.
because there's a lot of singing.
Yeah.
Wardrobe and costume changes too. They had a lot of that, so that was
True.
a significant amount of the budget, most likely.
Yeah.
So I guess the parts of the story that worked were the parts that were funny, but not relevant.
Yeah, I think that's the best way I can think to put it.
The aliens worked. I remember before we did the rewatch, that's what I distinctly remembered out of the whole movie. Maybe that was
That
it.
is the one thing that stuck with you since childhood. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's it's got to have done something.
I just can't get over the fact that Posh called an extraterrestrial fat.
Oh yeah, that would
I
have.
forgot about that.
Yeah, she signs his tummy, and then he's like, "Oh, you're so fat." And like, Posh,
that would
not
not
the
fly.
time.
Yeah, that would not fly today.
well, even just it's probably not the first thing you want to say to an alien who's from another planet.
Yeah, you don't know which powers they possess or if they can harm you.
You don't know
but
how
it's
they're,
also-
They
you
need
don't
the
know how they're gonna
language.
respond to that.
Although it could be, maybe it's a compliment. Maybe they see that as anyway. We'll never know, and the sequel's not coming. Themes? Is there a theme? We always struggle with this one because there's
I'd say
Girl
British
power?
British humor.
it's
very
Britishness.
British.
Britishness.
I think it
It
succeeds
is.
in its Britishness.
It actually, yeah, it leans into being British really hard, which, bravo. I
Right.
think that actually is very appropriate. Just consider it is, if you consider the movie a distillation of and a piss taking of them,
right.
then like sure, yeah, that's fun. I'm glad they did that. Because it would have been very uncomfortable to have actual Arlie Ermy come in and be the dance instructor, as much as I now want to see that.
Can you imagine him teaching dance moves?
No, but also yes. I feel like his character, if they were to do a sequel to Saving Silverman, I think that's what his character in that would have done.
I will nod because I'm not familiar with that film.
Okay, that's fair.
It's been a long time since I've seen it.
Either
Isn't
way, we're going to need a Ouija board.
it? Yeah.
That's also true. Rest in peace.
He and Meatloaf are dancing in the afterworld.
Now
I'll just say.
that is a image I will cherish for the rest of my life. Right there.
I assume he's still wearing the drill sergeant.
But he
hat.
has to.
It's just stapled to his head.
It's a part of him.
Oh God, that's flesh.
Oh no! God, I hate it.
Okay, so this will be a little easier. Oh, I guess the production. What doesn't work for, or what did work for the production rather? We talked a little bit about the sets. Some of the sets are cool.
Yeah, the set
the bus
designs
is
are-
Some of
cool.
the sets are cool. Yeah, the bus is great.
I love that scene where the bus jumps the bridge.
Yeah,
as a
that-
Matchbox car.
The visual gag of the toy car going over the toy
Yeah.
drawbridge is stellar.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic.
That saves some of the budget.
Absolutely saved some of the budget. Had to.
That had to have been a meeting where they're like, we spent so much money on the trailers.
I know that you had your heart set on actually jumping this double decker over a closing or like an open drawbridge, but buddy, we just can't.
They couldn't even afford an actual model of the bridge. It's paper.
Yeah,
It's paper. It's
It's
not
paper.
even like
That's not consistency at all because it's like Elton John and then a fake card.
like how much did Elton cost?
Yeah, I need
a pretty penny, I'm sure,
Yeah.
but. Because I hadn't really thought about this before, but if you're putting a whole lot of money into like having individual trailers for all of the girls,
Yeah.
and then imagine what like you think about what like a rock star's rider for backstage looks like. Imagine
right.
what it's going to look like now. Whenever you have Meatloaf for most of the production, you have the entirety of the Spice Girls for every scene.
Yeah.
You
No,
have
they did share their trailer after
they
the
did
first week.
share their trailer after the first week.
Richard didn't. He wasn't sharing.
No, absolutely not. Just
What do you think the most expensive? I mean, I think Elton was probably obviously the most expensive. What
Elton
was the
had-
least expensive?
and
least
all the
expensive?
extras too, like for the concert scenes.
Oh, I mean, of the cameos.
Oh, Elton, Sir Elton.
No, Elton
absolutely.
I think would have been the most expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Who's the least expensive?
Least expensive, I think, maybe Elvis Costello.
I was thinking either him or Bob Hoskins,
Hoskins, okay, no.
just because he literally is
No.
a single camera setup.
No.
No?
It's either Fry or Laurie.
Why? Oh, because they're just like TV stars or not.
They're just TV stars at that point. Yeah,
Right.
they're just British TV
You
comedians.
know what? Probably Laurie. I think. Even
Well,
though
'cause at that point they were probably best known for a bit of Fry and Laurie, I think. Like that
it
was
occurred to me. Yeah. 'Cause, he didn't come over to the United States till what? 101 Dalmatians, the live action one.
It might have been before that, but I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, at this point, I think they were probably the cheapest.
You're right. Yeah. I definitely think Bob Hoskins spent the least amount of time on set, though. The
I
set up.
still bet that he was more than either Fry or Laurie at that point.
Because that was when he was a little better known, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, he's got
also
a lot.
R.I.P.
Also R.I.P. So many people from this movie, damn.
Alan Cumming, he played a decent role.
I would say he goes beyond cameo to having, like,
he actually is part
a
of
literal role.
He had a character, and
yeah, he's in so much of the movie. Like, I think his character doesn't serve a great purpose, but like he's there consistently. He has a lot of lines. I would definitely consider him more than just a cameo.
I remember that microphone they were carrying around.
Yep.
I thought it was a mop when I was a kid.
So I have a theory as to why Alan Cumming is even there. So they've said that the Beatles movie, A Hard Day's Night, was the inspiration. And it is shot as though there's a doc crew following the Beatles around.
Oh, okay.
They don't have like an Alan Cumming type of person talking into it, but it's clear that like this is a camera that's following the Beatles around. And I wonder if they're like, this is our nod to that.
So yeah, so he's kind of trying to make the Hard Day's Night version of the Spice Girls
which honestly
movie.
I'd prefer to have watched.
Yeah.
Who in the cast did not work?
Ooh.
The mother with the baby. I just thought that was
the pregnant
random.
woman.
I don't know. I think the actress was fine. I think the character is more
Yeah,
the issue there.
yeah,
So I think
she
that's more
did
of a writing issue.
Yeah, it was just lack of plot. It was just kind of a subplot. Yeah, her acting was fine. It was just
Like
unnecessary.
she's thrown in there at the very beginning to like introduce her own presence and to make them godmothers, and then just does not come back again. Really,
No.
I mean, I guess she pops up at a couple of points, doesn't she? She pops up briefly at the interview that they're doing at that luncheon, and then just kind of like nervously leaves after they're like not paying attention to her anymore.
Nervous.
Yeah, but then she just literally disappears until she's ready to give birth on the dance floor.
Right, to be a plot device.
And then she just steals all the attention.
So, I don't think there's an actor in this movie that I would point to and say, you sucked. There's a lot of people I would point to and say, your character is not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think Richard E. Grant did a bad job, or I don't even think the Spice Girls did a bad job.
Mm-hmm. Especially for not
necessarily,
having like as much experience with acting.
Sure.
They probably were just early 20s taken on for this big multi-million-dollar project, and they were along for the ride.
So, I'm going to say there wasn't an awful actor.
That's rare. We usually have one person at least that we can point to and be like, this was a problem.
Yeah, the girls, they all did fine.
Yeah, I would say so.
Even, I'm trying to think like the secondary characters, like the guy who ran the tabloid. Like,
he played like the greasy, corrupt, maniacal tabloid overlord. Well,
I will say
he was believable.
The writer for the Hollywood thing, I didn't like him, but I also wasn't like so bad that
I didn't like him necessarily, like the character.
Yeah,
but I think like the way he delivered things fit the kind of like overzealous and kind of pathetic vibe that he was going for up until they got to like, no, this is the story, and that's really what's happening.
And then it was happening in real time.
Then he's got a triumph about him that I think works. But like, I don't know, like the.
I guess I don't like the gags.
It's like really cliche.
The gag is done. It's overdone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If it had been like one or two times,
yeah,
sure.
I think one or two, and then you do your rule of three with the meta gag at the end of it, him actually telling the story that's being presented to us on screen.
But they just had all these like unnecessary dinner dates and
and I'm
they
like,
do that a couple of times.
How's Richard E. Grant flying all over the place? Plus also managing the girls. It's. I would like to see like a Family Circus style map of like Richard E. Grant just like dashing around the UK/Italy.
It's like late season Game of Thrones nonsense where they're just fast traveling all around the globe for no reason.
It's like, don't worry about it. I didn't realize until I read the interview that the movie takes place over 5 days.
Wow.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, it's wild that it is only a 5-day time frame. Like,
yeah, they traveled so many places.
A lot.
And then couldn't even sleep. They had to go to this like training boot camp.
There's definitely some drugs involved.
There had to have been.
I'll tell you later, but I did look up how long it would take the drive from London to Milan. We'll get to it.
I have bookmarks in both of those cities. I have to brag about that.
Nice.
That is pretty cool.
I like that.
I mean, Italy, come on.
They have to have one.
There.
Were there any themes that didn't work?
Girl power?
Just how that aged.
Just
And
It did kind of clank every time Ginger was like, girl power. I'm like,
I think I think the way that it gets presented at some points, like when they're all dressing up as each other, like the phrase "girl power" is almost thrown out like a joke.
they all say it instead of just
like making fun of
Geri.
Ginger.
Yeah, like when Scary is dressed as Ginger, like she's just throwing it out there, like it's this nonsense phrase that she throws out there, which, I mean,
it almost highlights that it's a nonsense phrase when used by.
It makes it feel hollow.
Yeah.
In
Yes,
some ways,
that's good.
and I don't like that.
Oh God, do we have to talk about story? There really wasn't a story.
We
kind of talked about that.
We've kind of addressed that already.
Yeah.
There's so little story that it's hard to pinpoint anything. So it just objectively as a story, it doesn't work.
It's just the Spice Girls with a bunch of subplots going on and cameos.
And then the production we've also kind of touched on as far as it looks cheaper than it should.
Yeah.
And we don't know enough about what actually happened behind the scenes to address like, well, this happened or that happened.
That's the thing. There's so little information about that. Like all the interviews that we were able to find were from either before the movie came out or well after the movie had been out for years.
Yeah.
And so after they have so much time to reflect and think about what they're older now too, so
normally with time more comes out, but that's not been the case.
they're more secretive.
Yeah.
Well, they did reunite for the Olympics. They did.
Was it all 5 of them or was it just 4?
I think it was all 5.
I think it was all 5.
And we didn't even mention how difficult this movie was to find.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like it's almost like somebody wanted to bury this.
It's almost like a Star Wars Christmas special.
Oh my God.
Where George Lucas tried his damnedest to hide it.
Somebody at their record label was just like, we fucking can't with this. And just burned every copy of it.
I'm willing to rewatch that.
But fucking Voodoo, if you know how to make it happen.
There's a bit of a sneaky way for you to watch it on Voodoo. I think I did hear it's easier to find in the UK.
Oh, that I'm not surprised by.
Again,
all the Britishness of it. So
if you have a VHS, I think they're going for like $50-$60 online.
Really?
Yeah, something like that.
I have a VHS of it.
You can make like $50-$60 online.
There we go.
Of all the movies we've covered, this has been the one that was the hardest to find.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Well, like we had no trouble at all finding fucking Saving Christmas.
I
but
thought it was going to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah. And this was just
to the point where like we had our watch along scheduled and I didn't even bother really looking it up prior because I'm like, oh, of course it's gonna be it's everywhere.
Yeah, like the night before we almost like pivoted to a different movie.
Right.
Yeah, we almost were going to
What
just
were
because
we
we
gonna
couldn't find a way to stream.
Yeah, we were thinking about doing Freddy Got Fingered instead.
Oh right,
just
I forgot about that. With all that in mind, do we think Spice World either deserves the accolade singular or lack thereof?
I think I would need to see Burn Hollywood Burn to be able to compare, I think, just given that won Worst Picture. But yeah, I think it does deserve the nominations. I think it deserves the things that it did manage to win.
I do as well, and I feel like I'll have more information once I read that book that's coming out in August. Very highly anticipated.
Right, yeah. I don't think we've actually mentioned that on mic yet. What is it, Mel C?
Yeah, Mel C. And in the fall, she's going to be releasing a memoir, and apparently she's going to reveal who
I'm hoping
hopefully
that she reveals who bullied her.
Mm-hmm.
She said in interviews that she was bullied. She didn't reveal who it was, and that they've since made up.
Well, that's good. At least they made up.
Yeah. So she might not. I did forget to say that when Rolling Stone was speaking to their original managers, the original manager was like, "Oh yeah, she was hands down the most talented."
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And like watching it, you're like, "Oh yeah." Like if anybody should have had a solo career, it was her.
Yeah, her over Geri Halliwell.
Right.
Because she could hit those notes and.
She got pipes on her, yeah. Like apparently, like the large consensus was that the Mells were the best singers in the group.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to take a little break, and when we come back, we're going to make Spice World even better.
Hell yeah!
Welcome back, everybody. We are going to do exactly what we said we're going to do, and that is makes Spice World even better.
Yeah, we're not liars.
We've never once lied to you.
I think you still like karaoke, though.
I wouldn't lie.
Motherfucker. I swear to God.
The number of times I've just sat brooding in a corner wishing I was doing karaoke, but had to uphold my persona of hating karaoke.
I can see you just seething in the corner wanting to get up there and belt out some Dolly Parton. Just
maybe for Dolly. I might do it for Dolly. So the first thing I want to do with this script is talk about the addition of a character and 2 recastings.
Okay.
Initially, I had said while we were watching the film that I was going to replace Richard E. Grant, but watching it a second time, I was like, 1, they're not using this guy to his full ability, and 2, he kind of grew on me a little bit. However, I did need somebody who was an actual hard ass, because at no point in the movie do they actually take Richard E. Grant seriously. Clifford.
Right.
So
That's not a scary name
No.
either. Like I couldn't take anybody with the name Clifford seriously. I just think of the big red dog.
Right. I'm just like,
Oh, no. Oh, the burden, the insecurity that person have to grow up with.
Yeah, Cliff. Like I guess that's what.
yeah,
They do.
Cliff
They
would be
short-
good.
But then you have to deal with being known as the shitty mailman from Cheers. And just
So what I did was I split his role in 2, and I kept him for movies and merchandise, so that those meetings with the Hollywood dudes can happen in Hollywood, and then the manager can actually be the manager. And I've created the character of Tabitha, played by Emma Thompson.
Ooh, okay.
And I feel like she can be scary when she wants to. She can be supportive, and she can be a girl boss. The other character, or the other actor I replaced, was the writer, because I said it. I said I was going to do it, and by God, I said I was going to put Matthew Lillard in here, and I fucking did.
You did tell us you were going to put Matthew Lillard in here somewhere. So
I'm like, this is a 90s movie. I can use Matthew Lillard. Fantastic.
Absolutely. I like that call.
That was we were talking about.
He's going to be a mix of Stu from Scream and, I don't know the character's name, but the character from SLC Punk.
Oh yeah.
He's on my personal, like, terribly underused actor list.
I loved him in the movie Without a Paddle, and that's just because
Yeah.
I'm a huge
I
Seth Green
forgot
fan.
about that
forgot
one.
about that
Yeah,
too.
'cause that was them and Dax Shepard, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Seth Green. Yeah.
So the way I'm going to fix this movie is what I refer to as the Great 90s Solution. And what that means, the look on your face.
Yeah, I'm
Very skeptical.
perplexed.
I'm just that phrasing worries me.
And is it Y2K?
No, it's just a little too close to final solution for my liking, but
No, you're right. It's
just
we'll send the branding back for another go, but for now we're going to go with the Great 90s Solution.
okay. Fuck.
So, the Great 90s Solution. Here we go. I propose that we fire the entire crew on Spice World and replace them with the entire crew for the real world.
Oh, solid plan. That is not very 90s.
Mhm.
That's a solution.
Extremely 90s.
I agree.
So we shoot it like an actual documentary, thus really pushing the Hard Day's Night reference.
Sure.
We keep Alan Cumming as quote-unquote director, because apparently there's a problem with budget. We partner with MTV Entertainment Studios, who is either prepping or has just released Beavis and Butthead.
They'll
Beavis and
also
Butthead had been
promote-
out for a while
Okay.
at that point.
Sorry, the movie.
Oh, the movie.
Oh.
But they're still desperate because they released Joe's Apartment and it didn't go super well.
It didn't go
Oh, I
super well.
remember
No.
Did you guys do that one yet?
We've
No,
not.
we've not done Joe's Apartment.
I
That's
would
one-
actually be excited to do that
That's
one.
one of my favorite movies.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
And then we are going to, I do want to keep it as British as possible.
Oh yeah.
We're going to bring in / steal the improv cast from Whose Line Is It Anyway, the British version, as script doctors. And they are required to have 2 members on set at all times. And their job is to take the girls, their humor, and I'm trying to think of
Punch
something.
it up.
Thank you.
Spice
I
for
really-
life.
Damn it, Spice It Up was right there. Shit.
I was trying not to say that. So that's what I would do for the production.
Okay.
And kind of a mix between doc style, like real world stuff. I don't want to have the confessional booth. It would kind of ring a little too weird for this movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it'd be too redundant.
Yeah. So let's get into the actual script. I like the opening that we have in the movie, the original movie, where it's kind of like these 70s vibes, silhouettes of the girls dancing.
Right.
I want to push the Bond aspect of it. So bring in like more Bond aspects, but if it was like a Bond intro with a acid trip put on top.
Okay. So like not quite Austin Powers.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. It takes itself a little bit more serious than Austin Powers.
So at all seriously.
Yes.
Okay.
So after the credits, we cut to Nicola on the toilet in a public restroom. We can hear the booming concert in the background. She's trying to pull herself together. She is extremely pregnant. She dabs her eyes, tears away from her eyes, and exits the stall. A wedding ring is left on the toilet paper dispenser.
Oh.
Nicola emerges from the bathroom to see the documentary crew has waited for her. This is where like we go into the doc style.
Okay.
Less than thrilled, Nicola says, "Oh, you waited for me." Ellen Cumming explains, "Of course they would. She's the Spice Girls' best friend, the one that quit to choose a humble life of non-spicery."
Oh, we're making her the sixth one. Okay.
Mhm.
Interesting.
And like quasi our surrogate into the world, but she doesn't follow them all the time.
Sure. Well, I mean, she's got a baby on the way.
She's
tied down now. So.
We follow Nicola and the crew back into the concert just in time to see the finale of the show. So we get like the big Spice Girl number where they're introduced. Post-show, we still see it's more of a caravan of Spice Girl peoples, which would be more how it would actually be in real life anyway.
Yeah.
Going backstage, Elton John is then accosted by the girls, Nicola, the doc team, everyone. Originally, I was going to have him, and I couldn't think of a way to make it work in like a shortened version where he just is there because he likes to do backstage work. Like he just is fucking with the fly system.
I bet they paid him per second.
Yeah, they probably paid per second. Like it's, you know how
he pulls out an IATSE card.
Yeah.
Just...
Yeah. Man, that's 2 IATSE references back
I
to back.
know, yeah.
Fucking lost entirely. Just the image of him in like a grease monkey suit with like a big wrench.
But still his giant
Oh,
like
God,
the most flamboyant glasses
Absolutely.
he owns.
Oh,
Just
it's kind of like how Daniel Day-Lewis like went and made shoes for a little while because he just liked doing it.
fucking method acting motherfucker.
Yeah. Well, I think this was like to purge himself of whatever character he had done. He just like went
Oh,
and made...
so he just went and became a cobbler
Yes,
for fun.
That is absolutely right. Yeah, Elton John does that, but
God.
learns the fly system.
I'm in between albums, so I'm
Yes.
here manning the curtain.
Right. Right. Not explained. Just there. So we still get the same crowd scene, except for I want the girls to be really into it. Like I want this to be their favorite part of being the Spice Girls. Which we got a little bit of that, but not a whole lot.
They didn't seem very excited
No.
in the movie. Like it seemed like their work was a drag to them. I know,
They did like
it's
the
a job,
work.
but
And even when they met the fans, the 2 girls that got on the boat, it was like,
you're like, whatever. You're just randomly along with us for the fun ride.
right. But I'm like, you should probably play up enjoying. I mean, I don't think anyone who's like 22 wants to hang out with a bunch of kids, but
No.
Yeah.
fake it. Nicola tries to follow them onto the bus, but is blocked by Tabitha. Begrudgingly, Nicola joins the dock crew in their teeny tiny dock van. After saying their hellos to their beloved driver / bodyguard, Meatloaf, who is playing Meatloaf.
Oh, he's not playing Dennis. He's playing
he's
Meatloaf.
Meatloaf.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's a cameo.
He's more than a cameo.
He's the MVP.
Meatloaf.
Meatloaf, very important.
The girls sit down, and Tabitha and Clifford lay out the plot of the movie. So the Spice Girls are going to prevent World War III. So I had a problem with there not being any stakes in the original one.
So you put the biggest stakes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, here's what happened.
The 90s solution.
The 90s solution is the Spice Girls. I was looking through like bands who made movies and like the titles, and I was curious.
Sure.
And there's something like Kiss Saves Christmas,
Kiss Saves Christmas is a fucking thing.
which I always thought was a joke, but apparently is not. Apparently it actually exists.
That's a real thing.
I knew they had comic books, but so that'll be something I watched in my life.
There's a lot of questionable Kiss media out there.
That is true. So you see, Russia and the United States are at each other's throats, eager for a proxy war, incited by conquering a tiny, thin strip of land that neither of them really cares about, which like only happened that one time and never again, and this is complete fiction. So, however, leaders on both sides have agreed to meet for peace talks only because Bill Clinton and Boris Yeltsin are huge Spice Girl fans and really want to see them perform.
The idea of Boris Yeltsin being like a gigantic Spice Girls fan is...
Like, you can almost see Bill Clinton doing it.
Excellent. Oh, yeah, 100%.
Definitely Boris.
So the movie basically consists of them preparing for this world-saving show.
Okay.
That's high stakes.
Yeah. So after they are explained this by their managers, they're left to discuss their own anxieties. While Meatloaf is also there Meatloaf basically acts as like kindly old father figure, kind of like what Brian was kind of suggested to be in the Rendezvous restaurant.
Yeah.
Well, he's actually going to take that role.
He's going to be like their guardian, giving them old sage advice.
So like if Tabitha is like mean, angry parent, Meatloaf is like, you go ahead. You go ahead.
He's taking a shine to these girls.
So, yeah.
He'll protect them at all costs.
There we go.
That's
So they vent their anxieties in different ways. First, Ginger is sociopolitically aware and eager to see the people of definitely not Ukraine are not abused in this pissing contest between the two big powers. Scary suggests that Clinton and Yeltsin mud wrestle.
Like
she
in a
would.
swamp?
Yes, in a swamp.
Like in a swamp?
Oh my god, she absolutely would suggest that.
Yeah. We forgot to mention that I think it was Ginger pinched Prince Charles's ass.
She did. She absolutely
and then explained to him what a Prince Albert was.
Yep. And apparently Stephen Fry was present for that conversation.
That makes me so happy.
Just a whole different story. Just
what about the guards? Like those guards are vicious.
They did not protect their ass.
No.
Baby just wants everyone to get along, which Scary mocks. Posh, who in this version is super overprotective, or not overprotective, but like very protective of Baby.
Okay.
And not particularly a fan of Scary Spice, tells Baby, that's a very nice thing to want. Like, you're fine. I wanted to humanize Posh, and having
her character does nothing to do that.
No, it's very much like the old writer's trick of like, how do you make this person known as the good guy? You have them like protect a kitten.
Yeah.
So Posh is honestly, she reminds me a lot of Emma Frost from the X-Men.
Okay.
So if you have her protect the most innocent of the Spice Girls,
hence
then,
Baby.
Yeah, hence Baby, she'll be a little bit more likable.
Yeah,
Okay.
it seemed like she was angry the
She was
whole
angry
movie
and pouting the whole time.
Yeah.
Sporty, who like we still keep her as the athletic one, but we also add that competitiveness and determination.
Okay.
I agree
which
with that.
is great, and I forgot to use it at any other point in the script. So, but the scene ends with the girls all agreeing, like, yeah, we're going to put our all into this. We cut to Clifford, who's taking a meeting with Hollywood. The producer is introduced as this hip young writer of this so-called millennial generation, Matthew Lillard. He is there to pitch Clifford on the Spice Girl movie. It's kind of a recurring gag where Matthew Lillard pitches famous movies. Then we cut away to like see the girls performing these famous movies that like we all know is like, oh, that's like A Clockwork Orange. But
yeah. Oh God, yeah. The Spice Girls as droogs,
right?
No, that would actually be entertaining.
Would really like to see that.
It'd be fun.
I would definitely have that poster.
Yeah.
The third best James Bond represents MI6. I'll
Hold
never
on.
say.
Wait, third best.
Uh-huh.
So you've secretly recast Roger Moore?
Possibly.
Now I'm suddenly forgetting which James Bond is which. Hold on. Wait, who are you replacing him with?
Well, it's in your heart, Joe. Who do you think the third best James Bond is? I'm not stupid enough to say this on the internet. That's what this
God
is.
Damn it. Let's just see.
Okay.
I want to go in blind.
You know what?
here.
Yeah. At the end of the summary, I want you to guess who I have in mind for the third best James Bond.
Oh, you don't actually name him at any point?
No.
You motherfucker.
No. We already know. We already know that I think Roger Moore is the fourth, which I'm sure I'll get shit for.
Probably. I'm shocked, honestly.
Really?
But
and that is for all time, right? That's not like just at 1998. Like that is including. Anyway, not important. So he's an actual agent. He works for MI6, and he's putting pressure on Tabitha, like, don't fuck this up because it'll cause a world war. So Tabitha is way more stressed out in this one.
Again, stakes.
Right. We get the same rehearsal scene, except this time Nicola enters like out of breath because she's just now caught up to the girls. this is where she explains, like, Trevor, her husband, has left her. And that's where we get a little bit more understanding of, like, she was the 6th Spice Girl who then left to start a family, which that has gone super well. She feels abandoned, alone, scared. And this is when the girls rally around her. And Alan Cumming is just, like, looks in the camera. He's like, nice. So this is when we cut to Department H, which is Canada's branch for extra sneaky spy shenanigans, headed by McMaxford along with Brad. That was a little one for me. Department H is the department in Marvel Comics that had Wolverine.
Okay.
Coated with adamantium. This is them.
This is them.
Yeah.
You've inserted this into the MCU, is what you've just is what you're telling me.
Well, the comics, not the movies.
Oh, okay, so this is Earth 616.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. It's perfect.
Stupid.
This now we can have our Squirrel Girl, Spice Girls crossover in the future.
In. You've sold me, you son of a bitch. Let's go.
They've been put in charge of ruining the Spice Girls and in turn causing the United States, Russia to destroy each other, thus leaving a power vacuum that Canada can fill. They meet with Riff Raff, who is exactly the same. I changed nothing about him except for his mouth is always slightly ajar.
Oh, that's a nice little adjustment.
Yeah, kind of like Nosferatu, but a pervert.
Don't make him too pervy.
No.
He needs to be lovable.
It's still PG.
Yes.
But you're like, something about that guy.
I mean,
it's uncomfortable.
I just want to know how he got out of the toilet. Like that's been a mystery.
Vaseline.
I know special effects.
Just lots of
Vaseline. We get another scene of Clifford suffering through pitches. I went with My Fair Lady, Evil Dead, and The Clockwork Orange.
Okay.
And then the last pitch leads into the Hercule Poirot bit. So transitions to that, except for the girls are dressed as the other characters. And then we transition from that into Baby Spice complaining about always being seen as a baby. And the girls in general just being upset that they are one-dimensional.
So we're using it more as like dramatizations that play into their interactions rather than them kind of playing up the idea into the into the cutaway.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
that was
that sounds good. So they start talking about like the contradictions to their public persona, such as Sporty never misses Ren Fair. Posh has worn the same sweatpants to bed for the last 6 years. Scary is a renowned drag show judge. Ginger can tell a man to fuck off in 24 languages.
Nice.
And Baby is a Proustian scholar. Proustian? Yeah, she is.
I like those adjustments, and that promotes the feminism as well. And
they're not just that one thing.
Mm-hmm. They have another purpose.
Additional levels of diversity added to their states
dimension.
of being. Well-rounded characters.
God, those sweatpants smell awful. Cutting to the photo shoot, the conversation continues. It's Scary that says, still, there are times I wouldn't mind being posh for a day or sporty. This leads to the costume montage, which I liked in the movie for the most part.
It was fun.
Yeah, they played around, got to pretend to be one another.
Because they're fucking around, they don't get a very good photo for their photo shoot, which is that was meant to promote the show. Mm-hmm. So like they're like, that's a blurry photo where you dress like John Travolta.
Yeah, and then the photos were not the best ones.
No. Which we cut to Department H, where Riff Raff hands over several scandalous photos. One, a special interest is the photo of Baby Spice cavorting with John Travolta, who's actually just Sporty Spice in drag, but everyone just thought she was John Travolta. The scandal hits. The third best James Bond yells at Tabitha. Tabitha yells at the girls, who apologize but explain that like they need to have fun from time to time. Tabitha drags them to a dinner event where Nicola sits waiting for them. Somewhat spiraling, Nicola can't decide which of the girls to make godmother. Feeling guilty and needing connection, she starts to cry. The girls say that they can all be the baby's grandmother. And Nicola's like, that's not how that works. And they're like, who gives a shit? We're the Spice Girls.
They do what they want.
They do what they want. Girl power. They immediately are pulled away by Tabitha to do interviews, each of which serves to increase the stress of having to be peacemakers. We do get the Catholic moment, but at the end of the joke, Ginger does like finger guns, which is the photo that Riff Raff gets.
Perfect.
And then there's the ones in the paper. And everyone like freaks out like this is going to be awful, except for the Pope then comes on TV and thanks Ginger for asking the question, is the Pope Catholic? Because it caused him to have this moment of introspection where he pondered, what is a Catholic? And am I embodying it in its full?
Oh, a very interesting spin on it.
Yeah, I think that would have been John Paul II.
That would have been John Paul II, yeah.
Yep.
The third best James Bond tears Tabitha a new asshole for the Catholic thing.
Sure.
The Italian backup dancers arrive for rehearsal. I wanted to be like this. They are rehearsing. They're not doing this like mini show before the show. Like that was really confusing for me in the movie. I want there to be way more interactions between the Spicy Boys and the Spice Girls. Like the interaction with Baby was great, and I think
It was very good.
And this is weird to say, but like the girls treating these meaty boys like meat is hilarious. But then like Baby Spice treating him like this is a potential friend to friend with. More of that, please. So Tabitha still demands that the Spice Boys are cut, right? Like that's not going to fly. She's pissed, especially when he suggests the compromise of the ass cheeks, which is when she gets like a call from third best James Bond, who's like, no, Nelson's going to love that.
I mean, the pants were definitely cut.
This might actually help our case.
Yeah,
Get those chaps.
Oh my God.
Get more Elton time.
I
More
apologize to all the Italians out there. The boys and the manager cram into a 1968 Otto Bianchi Bianchini Berlini Quattrapastoli.
Don't look at me.
What did you just say about my mother?
She's the spicy meatball.
No. They jump into a what?
So they basically jump into a 1960s teeny tiny Fiat.
Oh, okay.
It's
are
funny.
cool.
It's a bunch of meaty boys in a tiny car,
Yes. No, that's very good.
and they all like are arguing in Italian to each other. And they promise like, okay, well, we're gonna keep doing our meaty boy things, and we'll meet you at the concert.
I mean, coincidentally, like MTV in the future developed Jersey Shore, and that was essentially
Those meaty boys grew up to be Jersey Shore.
Yes, that's the solution. That's the '90s solution into like what 2006,
Right, mid-2000s.
whenever
Yeah.
Jersey Shore was a thing.
It plants the seed for the idea for once those meatheads are
Right.
of age to do that.
Yes.
On their way
Oh,
back from Milan,
God.
and it takes 15 hours to drive from Milan to London.
There
Oh.
it is.
Also, there's some water in between there. The girls pick up 5 hitchhikers. To the audience, these are clearly 5 terrestrials dressed in the fuzzy outfit of Jamiroquai's Virtual Insanity.
Oh, I love Jamiroquai. I love it. Love it. I won't. Say
Like,
that.
there's a scene that is not in the movie where these aliens are like, okay, well, we got to we have to like disguise ourselves to fit in among the humans. And the first thing they see as they turn on TV is Jamiroquai's
Jamiroquai.
Virtual Insanity.
So they
That's-
they start to dress up and be
Yeah.
like humans and go
Wow.
out clubbing.
Yeah, well,
love
they
it.
hitchhike, and the girls just think they're Swedish. They then like start grilling the girls on like U.S.-Russia relations and like what they're gonna do and blah 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 blah.
Planting the seed for the
Just-
potential
Well,
conflict.
when they're finished questioning the girls, the Jamiroquais say like, "Oh, we've arrived at our destination," which is like 5 minutes away from where they were picked up. They exit, and like Gleep Lorp says, "The fate of humanity is in good hands." Like they were just checking in to see like how's this gonna go, because if like Russia and U.S. are gonna bomb each other, we might have to like dip our toes into muddy waters.
We may have to reveal ourselves
Right.
and intervene.
Yeah, we'll have to reveal we're not a bunch of Jamiroquais. The girls wake up to the daily event reporting that the Spice Girls had a wild and crazy night with some Swedes. Thus continuing to push the joke that Jamiroquais are just Swedes. Anyway, the boot camp theme is the same. I wanted to do something with Posh, but I ran out of time. So she's still just
Womp womp.
womp womp. Sleeping in the manor, we see the Spice Girls have a shared Scooby-Doo inspired dream that ends with the ghoul. I couldn't think of like what's a very 90s monster. Maybe that Godzilla? I don't know.
Gremlins are 80s, right?
Yeah, they're 80s.
Yeah.
It's too far.
It's all right.
Hmm.
I still know what you did last Scream.
Oh yeah, Scream's good.
It'd be weird for there to be like a full on slasher though.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
if
true.
you're gonna go Scooby Doo, then like it's like a ghost or like some kind of
Halloween.
So it's a cartoon version of. We already have Bill Clinton in there.
it's
So
like
I
a
can't do the joke.
Frankenstein or something.
Yeah,
or, I don't know.
It's like a Frankenstein with I don't know. Anyway, they unmask the monster, revealing Tabitha, which
Ooh.
like Ginger doesn't believe it, so she pulls the Tabitha mask off to reveal Nicola. Nicola then admits that she was just being a ghoul to get attention. Subtle. Riff Raff emerges from the toilet to take doctored photos of the girls sleeping. Because in the movie, they kind of just drop that thread. Like, he train spots his way up.
Yep.
And then
he does all the work, and then he doesn't get
maybe
anything from that.
We're all tired.
Yep.
He used so much Vaseline to fit through the toilet. He was like, I need to pass out.
He actually couldn't hold his camera because it's too slick.
He had to abandon the mission.
Squeak, squeak, squeak. That's the sound he was going in the hall. Anyway, he places a PBR pounder in Posh's hand.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, to take the picture.
Gotta make her look trashy.
Right.
Oh,
in Baby Spice's hand, he puts... Originally, I had a copy of, like, A Brief History of Time and Space, but then I was like, nah, we're already doing the Proustian thing. Let's have an issue of Spawn #1.
Spawn?
Which is very 90s, I feel. He then takes one of Baby's stuffed elephants and brings it to Scary's room, where he then tucks it into Scary's arm.
Nice.
Make it look like she stole it.
Yeah. I had trouble thinking of Sporty Spices because I was going to junk
cheeseburger.
Food. But in real life, Mel C had an eating disorder, so I was like, let's
let's stay away from that.
Yeah,
then.
that's not,
So instead, I had him put a marble menthol into every one of her fingers.
Oh, God. just
chain smoking marble menthols. A couple in the mouth, maybe in the ear. And then Ginger gets the Rambo trilogy on VHS.
Nice.
Which feels appropriate for actual Geri, but not Ginger. What are you going to do? The tabloid reads, "Do we really know the Spice Girls?" A fight breaks out between Tabitha and the girls, but it doesn't explode yet. We then get another Hollywood pitch, this time Officer and Gentleman, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and Kramer versus Kramer, the musical.
Kramer versus Kramer, the musical.
I've watched one out of the 3 of those movies, I'm not going to say. The boat scene is similar, except the girls are played by small Canadian men dressed as schoolgirls. So they intentionally fall off the boat to make the girls look bad.
Oh, okay.
And this leads to Tabitha firing Meatloaf. Because he's the bodyguard and he's supposed to make sure this shit doesn't happen, make sure everyone's safe.
That would make a suspenseful turn in the
right.
movie.
Well, then, because of that, the girls don't not only feel guilty, but they're also pissed.
Oh, yeah. They feel betrayed.
Because he's kind of their fatherly figure.
He's their
mentor. Tabitha reminds them that they may be a bunch of young women, but people rely on them for income and jobs and world peace. The girls storm off. The Canadians celebrate. So the girls split off each, and I want them to have similar dream sequences like they do in the movie where we see Rendezvous back in the day. Only we're seeing each one of them remembers a portion of it. But it all ends with Nicola leaving the Spice Girls to start a family. So we get them singing Wannabe, but it ends with Nicola being like, no, I met this man, we're going to start a family. And this all happens at the central location of Rendezvous, which in this, Rendezvous is a gay club. And Meatloaf was the bouncer.
Huh.
I like that twist.
And even there, he's protective of the girls.
Sure.
Elvis Costello serves Tabitha and Clifford drinks. They agree that they should shag as the world might come to an end tomorrow. This is something that they do by falling out of frame and onto the bar floor. Elvis Costello watches in horror.
He's going to have to clean that up later.
Yeah. Why do you take that side gig, man?
He's between albums. It's rough.
Yeah. So to show that they haven't forgotten and that they still appreciate their friend, they decide to take Nicola back to Rendezvous. More as a nostalgia thing than let's go clubbing with a pregnant friend.
Okay.
This is the one and only location, of course, where they've performed as a 6-person band.
Right.
Because they performed once and then she left. Nicola, while genuinely having a good time and feeling better for the first time in a long time, goes into labor. This interrupts the drag show. And since Meatloaf is fired, no one is there to drive them to the hospital. In this, none of the girls know how to drive, because why would they? Which the drag queens are like, that's fine. The nearest one is haunted anyway.
Right, because you said it looks like a ghost hospital.
Yeah. And the drag queens are all like, we've all been drinking and we're too responsible to drive, so you're trapped here. Yeah.
Well, that's responsible, though.
Yeah, they're all responsible, and then they have to deliver a child in a gay bar.
Yep.
So no one takes their drag or their nightclub stuff off. It's just got to deliver this baby at the drag show. Going into the next day, Tabitha and Clifford sit on the empty stage. Desperate to know where the girls are, they call the dock crew, because maybe the dock crew is following around, which they weren't, but they were following Meatloaf.
Oh.
Tabitha swallows her pride and asks Meatloaf for help. Asks if he knows where the girls would be. He's like, of course I know where they would be. They'd be at Rendezvous, the gay bar.
You say it just like
he
that.
says it just like that, yeah.
The gay bar.
Nonchalantly.
Which at that exact moment, the Italians pull up in their 1968 style.
Spicy boys.
In their beefy boy clown car.
Right. Which then Meatloaf commandeers, which the dock crew's like, we had an empty family, you didn't have to do that. But he's already driven away at that point. We cut back to the girls who have decided, they have to decide whether or not to help their friend or save the world. And this is where I struggled, because to do both, to get your cake and
Save it too.
Lick it too? Yeah. How do you eat cake? It doesn't make for good drama.
Sure.
But it also, I can't have World War III and Spice Worlds.
No.
As much as I would personally just have it turn into that, like a post-apocalyptic Spice World Mad Max hellscape, then that's not the movie we're making here.
Just as badly as I want it, I understand.
So they do the both. Meatloaf, the Italians, the dock crew arrive all at once. And they're like, well, how do we do both? Like, of course, we're going to deliver the baby. That's the thing that happens. But like, how do we broadcast us to the world? And the drag queens are like, we have all these screens. Like, we have a hookup to the internet. It's not legal, but like we do. And they're like, well, right. But like, how do we get internet? Like, how do we get an internet?
What's an internet?
And Sporty's like, well, we have all those free internet CDs.
Oh my God. They just have a bunch of
AOL
AOL trial discs.
Yeah.
The 90s solution.
Like, in the van, they don't have any idea how they keep getting delivered to the van, but they do.
Yeah, and that's a good like plot not to have explained. They just
No, there's like,
because they just show up in your house. Like, you just find them
You just
still,
find
even
them
today.
places.
if I find one, I'm framing it.
They were hanging up
You know,
in the grocery store at the checkout in some places.
Yeah.
By the
So,
gift
like,
card.
she pops it in, we hear the dial tone, and they're hooked up to the world, baby. So they broadcast.
Blazing fast 56K.
Yeah. And just when they think they're going to succeed, there's some like fuckery with the connection. And that's when we cut outside to Riff Raff fucking with the wiring.
Yep.
And then we hear a shot ring out. Riff Raff crumbles. And behind him, we see the third best James Bond saying, you still got it, old boy.
Oh,
Thus the payoff for having a Bond in the first place.
Thank you, Pierce Brosnan.
I'm in GoldenEye 007. I played that on Nintendo 64, probably around the same
There's
time.
no way
as
they
maybe.
afforded him at that point. But anyway, we then cut to Clinton and Yeltsin sitting in a theater by themselves, watching the screen, the Spice Girls. And Clinton turns to Yeltsin and says, maybe not today. And Yeltsin says in Russian, no, not today. There's still hope. The end.
That's it.
I had no idea how to end this fucking movie.
I like it.
Just a handshake between dignitaries,
Right.
and a pop song.
Right.
There we go.
So that's my fix for the Spice Girls.
Did we use like a real vehicle or they didn't drive? They
didn't
drive
drive
because they delivered the.
Yeah, I did lose that part, didn't I? I mean, if I added it, it would absolutely be the Matchbox car. Like, I'm not cutting what is probably my favorite part.
That's true.
Oh,
So,
God.
how do we feel about the fix?
This is a wild one.
Well, Riff Raff comes to his demise and doesn't
He fucking
reevaluate
dies.
his life.
No.
So that's kind of sad.
I
but-
mean, he kind of didn't do that in the first one either, though.
No.
It's just kind of like, my life's been based on a bunch of lies, because, I
he's
don't know,
concussed.
I got a head injury.
He looks up, sees the 5 Spice Girls, and he's like, I've done wrong.
Well,
That's
they've got me, so here's what I have to say now.
Right.
and then his mouth's hanging open, like you said.
Just a little bit.
Just
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Just imagine he doesn't brush his teeth.
No. I imagine with Nosferatu teeth. Just like, wrapped.
No, just explain why there's Nosferatus in this world. Just
I'm going to be brave and say who the Bond was. It's Timothy Dalton.
it's Timothy Dalton.
He's the third best Bond.
Okay.
Not because of his performance as Bond, but his performance in literally everything else is pretty great.
Oh, okay. I mean, I do like Timothy Dalton.
Me too.
Yeah. I mean, I like Pierce Brosnan too, but I mean...
I'll never tell. I've got to leave that vague opening for the first and second place so people don't freak out on me.
So I like how this version kind of better integrates the side bits Like the cutaways don't feel so much like proto Family Guy style cutaways. They feel more like dramatizations about that further contextualize the relationships we're seeing play out on screen.
And less random too.
The less
ones
random.
They have are so random that they don't really tie into any specific plot or anything like that.
Right. I mean, like some of them fit in. Like some of them in the first version fit in with like the movie pitches that were going, but they stopped dead there. Like, these I feel like have a greater thematic connection to what's actually playing out. I also like that Nicola has a greater role. That she actually has a more defined role, and her being the sixth Spice Girl helps like really cement that connection better. And I like that impact a lot more.
Yeah, I completely forgot about her character until I rewatched it as an adult. Like,
absolutely.
She was not memorable at all, and that way it gives her some dimension. And
meanwhile, she like goes into labor in the middle of a drag show. It's like, that seems like a memorable thing that should stand out.
I remember that.
Fantastic. So, what are we giving this? What Rotten Tomatoes score are we giving this fix?
I think there'd still be a number of critics who would take issue with it, just given that it is, it's a pop star movie.
Mm-hmm. I should say my initial goal when I started working on this was to make it a cult classic.
Sure.
To the point where I was going to get the director of Rocky Horror to do it. But then I was like, no, the real world people should make it, and his style wouldn't mesh with them.
Mm-hmm.
I think the real world hype behind it, the MTV partnership, immediately gets it, at least in the audience consideration, way higher up. I think that the fact that it only hit like 45 for the original version is still kind of like boggling my mind. I think for the critic score, I think we see that go up. I want to say 55.
Okay.
I think the Rotten Tomatoes critic score will go up to 55. I don't think it makes it to fresh, but I think that this has a tighter narrative than the original does. I think that's enough to at least get it up above 50.
Mm-hmm.
I think so too. It just has more dimension to it.
What do we think the IMDb score would be?
That I think goes up to at least 6.
I would agree with 6 as well.
My thought was when it first comes out, it's like a 5.3, and
but
then over time, as it gets to be more of a cult classic, it moves up towards like 6, 6.3, 4, whatever.
Okay. Yeah, I'd buy that.
Especially once Jersey Shore
right,
starts
once
up.
you're like, I knew that sexy beef boy from the Spice World movie.
And then also having the partnership with MTV and the Real World crew, that will give the American promotion.
Just the ad time they'll get on MTV will help immensely.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Fantastic. Well, we're not going to leave just yet, but we are leaving the Spice World behind and stepping into the bookmark world. That's what we're doing. So, would you like to tell us a little bit about what you do?
Hi, everyone. Well, my name is Jill. I am a multimedia artist, and I specialize in resin at the moment, but I also know how to make a lot of other things. And in the pandemic, I started reading a lot. It just helped with being isolated, and I was going around to a lot of those little free library boxes that they have registered, and I was like, oh, I can make bookmarks and put them in and trade for books. So before it was just kind of like a hobby, and then I had people be like, oh, these are really cool, you should sell them, and I had a couple friends encourage me, and I made an Instagram, glittery_shenanigans is my username on Instagram, and what became out of that, these authors are sending me books to review, and as an artist, it's very important to promote other artists' works.
Yeah.
And it's nice that we can promote one another. Yeah. And I've had books, like I've made bookmarks to pair with authors' novels and the cover art as well. So
that's a lot of fun. I like that.
I love it.
And they're worldwide.
Yep.
Yeah, you said you have one in...
I have one in... I have a couple in Milan, Italy, because my friend lives there. I have some in the UK, Belgium, France, Australia. I think I have some in South America.
Wow.
Canada.
Nice. Those rascally Canadians.
And they're solid. Like, they're good quality resin bookmarks. Like, these would hold up for a good while.
The funniest thing is when I'm doing pop-up sales and people are looking at my table and somebody drops one and the look on their face, it's broken, but I wouldn't recommend bending it as hard as you can, but they're pretty durable. And I also
branched out into keychains.
Keychains. I have little wine ones. So these, I don't ship these internationally unless
because of the metal in them.
Yeah, just because I can send bookmarks in envelopes with cards.
Right.
So that gets rid of the
if you can see,
outlandish
little
customs
lime.
fees. But if somebody from another country ordered a lot and it was worth getting a package with tracking, then definitely would want tracking on there.
Fantastic. So if somebody were to want a bookmark from you, where?
So it's my Instagram account. Right now, I just sell everything through DM.
And you see that's glittery_shenanigans on Instagram.
On Instagram.
Okay.
And I would like to get a website at some point, but right now, just between reviewing all the books, and I've been doing
pretty busy.
Pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you've got a lot on your plate. Like, it's amazing.
And I love it. Like, I wouldn't... Like, the fact that I can wake up every morning and make art, and I didn't realize that I could... it's a dream. Dream come true.
Very
Fantastic. Cool. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me as a guest.
Absolutely.
I had such a great time reminiscing about Spice Girls as well.
No, it's been a lot of fun.
Next week, we'll be doing something, I guess not next week, but like the week after. The next episode. We'll be doing something a little different because the Razzies are saying who they've nominated.
Yeah, Razzie nominations are happening on the 7th of February, I believe. So we'll be recording our next episode after that, and then we're releasing after that. So don't tell us.
Yeah, don't tell us.
Don't spoil it for us. We're going to go in as blind as we possibly can, because we want to give you guys our predictions before we actually compare that to the real thing.
Been watching some real turds.
Good fucking Lord. Just
trying to anticipate like what's going to get nominated.
So like there are some prediction lists out there about like what know what people think are going to get nominated, and we've been going off of that and going off some of our own impressions as well. And holy shit, there were some bad movies out last year.
So you can find us DeRazzled at places that Joe has memorized, but I don't.
Yeah, so you can find us on Facebook at DeRazzled Podcast, on Instagram at DeRazzled_podcast, on Twitter at DeRazzledPod. You can email us at DeRazzledPodcast@gmail.com to let us know what you think about our fixes, and to recommend movies that you want to see us do in future seasons. As we've mentioned, we are getting ready for season 2 here, so we're still looking to fill out some of that schedule. And we're going to have a bit, a gap in between seasons 1 and 2 where we're going to try and do some fun stuff here as well. You can rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Good Pods, on Podchaser, wherever you listen. The more that you are able to rate us, genuinely we appreciate it. We pay really close attention to those things, and we care what you think about the show. And that helps us get further up in ratings and standings on those various platforms, and helps those algorithms show us to other people, so more people can discover our little bit of stupid fun here.
We just want to show you our stupid.
We just want to show you our stupid, honestly. That's the whole point of this.
Thank you again, audience, people, Joe, Jill.
Oh, thank you for having me. I had a blast.
Join us next time.
We'll be sure to
razzle dazzle you.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, we will.